Welcome to Liquid Lunch, coming at you live, a historic moment. We'll see how this historic it turns out to be. It's another moment in history anyway. It's me, Hugh, and Sandra's here today. Sandra.
Hello! High five, Hugh.
High five.
It's the beginning of the show this time. Awesome!
Thanks for coming in and doing this today.
Oh, this time, my pleasure. It's an honor.
Okay, great.
Wow. I'm excited.
Okay, good. Yes, we're here on thrivinglive.com, and we're doing Liquid Lunch here, and we got, I don't know, should we go right into it, right, with our first guest right away? Should we do that? Or is there something you want to talk about, Sandra, before we really get into the
Well, you know what? I just know, you just told me what the name is, and I love the name.
Really?
I think it's a great name. It's,
Is it working
It
for
is.
you?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's where Thriving Live, I think, has a really nice energy to it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I
That's
think-
You're not the first person to say that.
Wow.
So that's interesting. Janet, what do you think of the name Thriving Live?
Thriving Live, I think it's an excellent choice.
You don't have to say that. You know, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but you could just say no.
It's
That's
an improvement.
Oh, okay, good. Well, that's great.
And
Wait,
I agree that it has a nice energy.
Yeah. And you know what? Because it's got the word thriving instead of just thrive live. So you're actually doing something,
Yeah.
right? It's an action word.
right,
And then live, of course, means live,
Yeah.
right? So and it's got a
But
ring.
It's got a ring.
Or, yeah, it's got a flow.
Thriving
Yeah.
Live.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
It's poetry.
And we have to say the studio feels very, very different here. It feels like we were talking earlier, campus radio. Well, this is kind of like, feels like kind of campus TV. This is real, folks. This is,
it's more like radio. It feels like this is more of a radio type
a radio with the
studio.
video, though.
Right, with the video, of course.
that's
Which
what we're
they're
like-
doing on TV nowadays. That's all they do, like on these sports networks, right?
Yes.
They just take the radio show, they put a few cameras in it.
Yep. That's it. And it's
They call it TV.
It's
It's cheap TV is what it is.
This is the true reality TV. This is reality TV with all its, bells and whistles and horns and cracks and
Yeah. Anything could go wrong at any moment.
and it
so-
does.
yeah.
That's why I used to do theater. That's why I love doing theater. It wasn't about, when you did a show 5 times a week or 7 times a week, it was always the same thing. You would go to the phone, you pick up the phone, you say a line, you put the phone down. So it was what went wrong that kept it fun. So we would do things backstage to pull pranks on each other,
yeah.
and it made it really fresh when we were on stage, right? Because when you're doing it time and time again, it's very, very boring.
Did you do that in Sudbury by any chance? At the Sudbury
No,
Theater
I did not.
Center?
No, I did not.
Okay.
No, and if I did, I wouldn't have said.
Okay. 'Cause I'll tell you. No, I'll tell you why. Because my sister was in a production at the Sudbury Theater Center.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And it was
Somebody
like,
tripped her?
I don't know. But there were all kinds of pranks. They did My Fair Lady. I think it was My Fair Lady.
And she fell and bruised her face, and she wasn't so fair.
I don't know about that. But what they did was they did a little, after the show, because
Yeah.
she was in the cast, I got invited to a cast party afterwards. I think it was closing night. And they did a parody of it called My Fair Laddie.
That's too
I don't want to get into the details.
As long as
but
it's
there
not
were a
My
lot
Fair
of,
Lassie. What if it's My Fair Lassie? Because then I wouldn't know if it was going to bring a dog on stage, or because Lassie means female. Doesn't it in Scottish or something?
yeah, lass.
Little girl.
A
Lass,
little
okay.
lass.
So
Oh,
if they did My Fair Lassie, what would that be?
about a dog. A dog that learns to bark properly. Instead.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
See, that's the energy of this whole Thriving Live thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Since we're doing that, do we have time just for me to make a confession?
Of course we do.
Okay. So when I did the very first show I ever did, Janet, the very first theater show I ever did, my sister came to see me, and my sister Gail, love you, Gail. Anyway, she, when you go backstage, they're supposed to, even if it's your first show, you're supposed to say, "Oh, you were fabulous," no matter what. You're supposed to say you were great, even if you were not so great. So my sister, first she comes backstage, no flowers, no anything. You usually bring flowers too, no flowers. And first thing she said, the only thing she said to me was, "Never wear your hair up again."
Ouch.
And that's because I have, so this is my confession,
She's a
okay?
Vulcan.
I have these, Dumbo Greek ears, so this is my confession, okay? So there they are. So now
you go.
I've cleared that.
Look at
Okay.
that.
I don't need therapy anymore.
Well, your hair is... You're lucky to have that kind of hair.
I know. But even this, sometimes it goes over. But anyways, there's my therapy. Thank you for allowing me to air that one.
Okay.
On your historic show.
Okay, we're going to take a break in a couple of minutes, and then we're
Okay.
going to start the official interview with Janet. But Janet, you mentioned there, it had a nice energy to it or vibration to it.
Yes.
The Thriving Live. Are you into that kind of stuff? The vibration. That kind of stuff.
Is this going to turn into a rave? What's going on?
She's into music. I know that.
I'm into music.
Are you?
Yes.
Well, you asked about the Rush before we
Well,
came
that's
on, right?
because I have the
Oh
connection.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Connection.
But you
Yeah.
seem to know. You seem to know a lot about music because you certainly knew the songs that were being played while we were waiting to come on air.
Isn't that interesting? They were very old songs.
But classics like
Yeah, see.
Eagles Hotel California was playing.
Boy, that's a whole.
I didn't recognize that, actually.
Oh, it wasn't the Eagles version.
It was
though,
like a
somebody
Weird
else.
Al version or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Some guy doing Weird
Yeah, yeah.
Al. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's just tell people who we've got on the
Okay,
show.
sounds good.
We've got Karen Millyard coming on, and she's what is? I know you know who she is, Janet, and because what you're doing is sort of related. But she's like a dance, something or other. What? Like she's
She's a dance instructor and a dance historian.
yeah.
And she puts on balls, Regency era balls. So it's like Jane Austen, the kind of dancing you see in those Jane Austen movies.
Nice.
And so in the afternoon, she puts you through your paces, and you learn how to. Everybody's so nice at these things. It's just really, and then she helps you with costumes, how to make Regency looking a
Close.
profile, sort of
Wow.
a silhouette out of
Wow.
what you've got in your closet. I mean,
Wow.
it's very, very clever.
Wow.
And then in the evening,
Oh.
there's a ball,
Nice.
So we're going to talk to her about that.
and I've been to one.
Wow.
And now, is that related to what we're going to be talking about with you, which is?
No, not especially, except that we're putting on an event at the beginning of May that is, because everybody's into the bicentennial of the War of 1812 now, we'll be talking about women in the War of 1812, and that's the same era.
Women in the War of 1812.
1812.
Wow. Wow.
Because you see, you look at pictures, all you see are redcoats and the Americans, and
I don't see any women though.
You see our native brethren, you see
Oh,
First
okay.
Nations, you see all, but yeah, you never see any women.
Except for Laura Secord, everybody knows
Yes, there's
about Laura
Laura
Secord.
I would love to.
Why?
There-
Why?
women, women played tons of roles
Yeah.
in the war.
Wow.
Well, we'll get into that.
So lots of
Yeah.
women, but Laura Secord got all the credit, right?
Laura Secord and Dolly Madison on the American side, the First Lady.
Oh, she did that
Yeah.
for the.
If you're trying to find images of women
yeah.
in the War of 1812, you
That's
can
what
find
you're gonna
pictures of
get.
Dolly Madison, because she famously, when the British were down burning the White House, Dolly famously rescued the port. Well, I think she had some help from the servants, but she famously rescued the portrait of George Washington from
Wow.
the White House,
How
Wow.
did she do that? Did she have?
risking life and limb.
Yeah, and it wasn't even finished being painted. I think, right?
Wow.
I think the paint was dry. Or was going to dry in a real hurry if she didn't get it out of there. That's Dolly's famous moment.
Wow.
Okay. Well, we've also
Sounds
got Lionel Arundel coming in from Tika Town, and
From where?
Tika Town. It's it's like he's like a promoter, like an
Cool.
entertainment company.
Tika Town.
Yeah.
It's cute.
And Graham and Monika Burwise will be coming in. They do lots of stuff. I went to. You're gonna like talking to them because they do some really interesting seminars
Cool.
around town, and also author Karen Escobedo will be coming in
Excellent.
towards the end of the show.
Excellent.
So, and Janet Walters,
show.
we didn't even mention, but Janet's our first guest, and we're going to be talking about, as you said, the War of 1812 and the role of women in it, and because we're getting ready to. When is there actually one date where like we celebrate 1812? This is the year, but
The war was declared in June. Oh, you got me on the spot. I think it was June 17th
okay,
that the Americans declared war on the British.
yeah,
Now, in terms of Toronto,
yeah,
the Battle of York took place in April of the following year. is
yeah,
when
because
the
it lasted
Americans-
2 or 3 years.
It's
The war,
almost, yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
So next year we'll celebrate the 200. I don't know what there is to celebrate. It was a brutal.
Well, they
brutal
burnt the
war.
city down. But let's take a little break. We'll come back and talk about that. So, let's take a little break, a little piece of music here, and we're going to come back and have our official interview with Janet Walters from Toronto's first post office as Liquid Lunch gets underway. We'll be right
On
back.
ThrivingLive.com.
Yes. Okay, we're back on the air here.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations. She was a 40-year smoker who quit smoking.
Why do you have to?
That's amazing.
Janet.
Congratulations.
I guess.
Health.
It
Hello. Look at the picture on
Well,
the cigarettes.
health, and also it just doesn't look good on you anymore.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true.
It's not a fashionable thing.
Yeah.
It used to be a very fashionable thing to do.
I think when you realize that you're embarrassed
Yeah.
to be seen smoking,
Yeah.
that's time to. You shouldn't
Yeah,
be doing
yeah.
stuff you're embarrassed to be. caught
That's
doing,
true.
Wow,
right?
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a really good observation. Embarrassed seen smoking.
Yeah. Well, it's
Congratulations.
interesting. Okay, that's not what we're here to talk about,
No.
though. So let's get into what we're here to talk about. And well, Janet, you're involved with Toronto's first post office, right? What's your actual title down there?
I'm director curator, and if that sounds like two jobs, that's
Yeah.
because it is. So I'm a museum curator,
Mhm.
I guess. I mean, the Toronto's first post office is a museum, and a national historic site, and a fully functioning post office.
Okay.
Wow.
People don't necessarily realize that when they walk in the door, because it is an 1833 British colonial post office, and for the most part, if you don't notice the touchscreen computer right away,
Mhm.
that because you're awed by everything else. But it is a fully functioning post office. So I run a post office, I run a museum, and the director part is that I'm the executive director for the Town of York Historical Society, which is basically the body that operates us. So we're not corporate, we're not Canada Post, but we're not Shoppers Drug Mart either.
Okay, so you're somewhere in between.
I don't get it though. How come you're not Canada Post? You'd think a post office would be Canada Post.
Well,
Is it
Shoppers Drug Mart isn't a post office
right?
either.
But it is a Canada Post outlet.
It's an what they call now an
Authorized.
authorized
Yeah.
dealership.
Okay.
yeah.
But unlike
Okay.
some of those larger drugstore chains,
Mm-hmm.
we don't have alternative product. I mean, we do have a museum gift shop, but we don't have
Toothpaste.
diapers and toothpaste.
Okay,
And lipstick
okay,
and,
okay.
so we have to live on the very small margins that you make selling.
Really?
But as a museum too, do people come and pay admission to come and?
Well, you can't charge admission to a post office. It's
Right.
one of the drawbacks.
Okay.
We do ask for donations.
Yeah.
For people who are coming and using looking at the exhibit rooms and whatnot.
Mhm.
But, yeah, it's a tough go. We do get some small. We have the City of Toronto actually gives us a small grant every year, and we get a small grant from the province for being essentially a community museum. I mean, here we are in a big city,
But is this about Canada or is this about Ontario, the museum itself?
our museum is
Or Toronto.
focused on Toronto Toronto and Upper Canada postal history, I guess you'd say.
Because I wonder why you wouldn't get any funding from Canada then.
Being a national historic
Yeah,
site, yes,
yes.
it is a poser, isn't it? But,
Yeah.
I'm afraid that's the
Must cut
situation.
all funding. Must
Wow.
save tax dollars. Must give all the money to the bankers.
And the politicians.
Okay. Now, but Janet, when was the post office built then? It's Toronto's first.
1833.
1833.
And calling it the first post office is a little bit misleading because
Okay.
when did we come to the town of York? Well, about 1793 or something. And there was postal service here from 1804 on.
Okay.
And from the teens, you see, I can see people glazing over already. from the teens, like 1814, 50, we had a building of some sort that was being used as a post office. But those were Town of York post offices.
Mm-hmm.
And our post office, Toronto's first post office, was built on the eve of the city's incorporation. So the city was about to incorporate in March
As
of-
Toronto.
Yeah, as Toronto.
As a name change too, right?
Yes, and a reversion
Yeah.
in the name because it had been known as Toronto before
Oh.
Simcoe declared it to be York.
Okay.
Okay.
All
okay.
right.
It was a reversion, and they actually said, there's New York, there's all these different Yorks. Let's go back to Toronto because it is unique.
And it's a great name. Toronto's a great
It's
name.
a great name.
It
Yeah.
means meeting place, doesn't it?
Well, they thought for years that it meant meeting place. Actually, it means sticks standing in the water.
Oh.
It refers to the fishing weirs that the
Really?
natives used on the
On the islands, probably,
Okay,
right?
so who started that rumor? It
Well,
means
there are two
meeting
different
place.
languages involved. I'm not an expert in this, but there are two different languages, and there is a word that sounds vaguely like Toronto that means meeting place, and everybody loves that one.
Yeah, of
So-
course, of
But, you know,
course.
sticks standing in the water. I mean, this was the site where Simcoe decided to put his town. Was pretty swampy, and really nobody
So-
lived here because it was a fishing spot.
Yeah.
So it actually makes sense that it is sticks standing in the water then.
Why?
Because of what it was when it first started.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because of the island. If that island wasn't there, I don't think there would be a city
It
here.
wasn't an island, you know that.
Something. Yeah.
It
What
was
was
a
it?
peninsula. It was
Yeah.
joined up at the eastern end, and that's partially why the site was chosen, because it was a safe harbor.
Yeah.
And they could guard it. You know, that's why the fort is at opposite Gibraltar Point. So, well, of course, we filled in a lot of the land now,
Yeah.
but it was guardable at that end, and
Mm-hmm.
then the town was tucked away at the eastern end of the
Wow.
harbor.
Well, it's interesting that we're talking about the War of 1812 then, because of course Toronto was burned to the
It wasn't
ground,
so defensible
right?
after all.
Well, despite the defenses, somebody got
sticks didn't
through
help
and
us.
set the place on fire.
It's true. It was an amphibious attack. They came with ships, and they parked sort of at the mouth of the harbor overnight. So I mean, it was a very frightening situation for the inhabitants of the town because
No
they
kidding.
knew they were there.
Mhm.
They knew the attack would come in the morning, and I don't imagine too many people got a very good night's sleep.
Yeah.
They knew the attack would come because they could see them in the distance?
Yeah, they knew they were there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
Wow.
some people landed. There was a naval battle and an on-land battle. Well, I think one of the worst things that happened that day was that the magazine at Fort York blew up. And I mean, you can imagine the kind of casualties from an explosion. You know, a stone building
Absolutely.
exploding.
Absolutely.
Well, a stone building filled with dynamite,
Well,
basically,
with
right?
explosive, yes, but,
Yeah.
but the stones then become, weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
those standing sticks don't help us a lot.
Actually, do we have any stories from, or are you aware of any stories from that day when the city was burned?
Well, it's interesting because we didn't think, being an 1830s post office and sort of focusing our attention on that era, we tend to think about the rebellion and different things. But turns out the post office does have a connection.
Mhm.
We have a hero, a local hero, not a British soldier, but one of our. So Donald MacLean, who was the clerk of the Assembly, had been a postmaster in 1807. So 5 years, just that 1 year. We don't know why. William
Mhm.
Allen had been the postmaster, then Donald MacLean, then back to William Allen. We're trying to research that out. Maybe it had something to do with an election. These things often did.
Mm-hmm.
But Donald was a man in his, I believe, in his 60s. He was not a young man, and he heard the Americans were coming, and he ran around like mad, securing important documents, court documents, and documents from the Parliament, and then grabbed his musket and off he went, and he went down in a hail of bullets.
Wow.
Yeah.
What happened to the stuff that he
Hid?
was guarding?
I
or
don't know. Somebody found it.
did they
We
find
don't
it
know.
afterwards?
Do not know that.
Wow.
But I hope he took it off site because, as you know, they did burn the Parliament buildings.
They burned everything, pretty much, right?
Well, they burned a lot of stuff, but I think at one point Bishop Strachan just kind of asked them not to. You know,
Really?
Please stop
And
burning
they
everything.
stopped?
yeah.
Really?
Did they?
That's
That's how you.
that's one of the. That's like Laura Secord. That's one of the stories. that we tell.
It's rather
then
unpleasant. Would you please stop burning the
then,
city?
already.
then why couldn't you have said it the first day and then stop
Well,
everything?
it's a heated battle. It was a
So
very
what-
conflicted war. You have to remember that a lot of the people that were living here were essentially American refugees.
You know
Yeah.
what I find really hard is to grasp is the fact that there was even a war here. Because, today we see war everywhere. There's fighting everywhere around the world. Yet we seem
not
somewhat sheltered, somewhat shielded from all
Well,
that.
it
I
is
can't
the-
even imagine that we had one in Canada.
Yes, that Ontario, Upper Canada was invaded. It was
Mhm.
invaded, occupied. Parts of it were occupied, and
And how many people actually, I don't remember taking this in school.
You don't?
How much? No, not a heck of a lot,
Oh.
no. So, is it
not a
discussed
well-known
in
war. Do you know that?
Yeah,
the
that's my
Brit-
point. See?
British,
That's my
the
point.
British don't study it in England. They don't, even though it was their war. I mean, it was a war between the Americans and the British.
Yeah.
It
And somehow
really,
we got caught.
We call people Canadians. We talk about the Canadian side, but I mean, there are people who maybe felt they were Canadian, but
I think it's become more of a Canadian war since the war because Canadians have taken it on as a moment when we kind of.
Very much so, and I think especially down, if you go down to Niagara, all the way along there, all these battle sites. There are memorials, and there, the Brock Monument, and all these things, because those are where the battles were fought. Toronto, even though it did have a battle, fairly important battle, I guess, although we lost, and ended up burning one of our own ships. That was just so that.
So we weren't very good at what we did. We were very good at fighting.
Toronto is kind of famous for erasing its own history, constantly reinventing itself, and so perhaps it doesn't see that as. I mean, this year we're all celebrating is an odd word for it, but everybody's remembering the War of 1812, and so Toronto is as well. And as you know, the fort is many events centered on Fort York. We are having an event though also. I mean, we've already had one, and we will be.
What was the event you had?
Well, every year on March the 6th, we celebrate the incorporation of Toronto as a city.
Okay.
So we consider it Toronto's birthday, and we have a party at St. Lawrence Hall. And this year we had someone came and spoke on the what was called the Colored Regiment. It was a fellow who had been a slave, an escaped slave, Richard Pierpoint, and I think they called him Black Dick. But he again was an older man. I think he was born in the 1740s or something. So by the War of 1812, he was not a kid. And he went to Brock and said, "How about I raise a regiment of my peers?" And actually, considering there were only about 110 black people here, I think he got about a 30% turnout, which was because they had, in a way, they had a lot to lose, because if the Americans conquered, then they would be slaves again. So because
it was a war within a war, actually, for them, right? It was really a war within a war.
And they did a lot of work. They ended up building Fort Mississauga. I don't know how much
the black regiment.
The colored, what was called the Colored Regiment. Yes. So we had a talk on that, and then we had commissioned a piece of theater called Petticoats, Scoundrels, and Soldiers from the Single Thread Theater Company. And it was quite fun because it was not just colorblind casting, but sex blind women played men.
Women played, that's very cool.
It was really quite fun. And there was a small group of people, like about 5 young people, who had to basically play everyone involved in the war. And so there's a lot of scrambling and skirts being pulled on over trousers just off.
That is theater at its best.
It was fun. It was really, really fun, and I think everybody had a good time. We had a good turnout.
That's great.
So let me ask you, how many kids do you think, if you were to ask kids today walking down the street, what do you know about the War of 1812? Would be able to say anything?
Anything. I'm not sure. They do know a little bit about the rebellion. They seem to know about Louis Riel. I'm hoping this year they will learn a little bit about the War of 1812. Interesting, I don't know if you saw in the paper on the weekend, the kids in Canmore, Alberta, who never saw, there was no War of 1812 out there, are putting on plays in their schools.
For the War of 1812?
For the War of 1812.
Well, that's
great.
Wow.
But it was a great war in terms of the stories.
Oh yeah, I don't know. People say Canadian history is boring, but when I hear what some of the stuff that happened in the War of 1812, and when you mention the so-called Colored Regiment, I think of it was very miraculous in a way that Canada wasn't taken over by the Americans at the time. You'd think, and part of the reason, it's like everybody just kind of worked together. The natives, and the. Yeah, and the British, and the locals that were here, and the Colored Regiment, and and the French Canadians, right? Everybody just pulled together to.
Everybody pulled together. I think the First Nations people were kind of lied to about, and I think some of the black people as well. Fight for England, fight for England, and you'll get X, Y.
Well, wasn't it? Who was it? Brant. Was that the War of 1812? Joseph Brant.
Brant was still around, but it was Tecumseh was the great warrior chief that dealt with with General Brock,
Right.
and got people all.
Okay.
But there weren't that many of them. They had to sound like more. But the
Yeah.
Americans had. It sounds like I'm talking too many generalizations, but everything I've read, you get the impression that the American imagination, because they were expanding and had an ongoing war with their own native peoples, they were frightened of them to a large degree. They were an enemy down there. They hadn't been the trading partners that they'd been up here.
Right.
Okay.
They were somebody that they were fighting
Against.
Okay.
over territory. So because you always mythologize the enemy to be.
Yeah,
in
you
World War II,
embellish.
we talked about the Hun, and these were very World War I. Pardon me, very scary people, and they were characterized as monsters or whatever. So
Yes.
if you could get 600 warriors to make a lot of noise,
And how much is it embellishment too, right? How much is it?
yeah, I mean,
And that's the other thing about typical Canada. We don't hear a lot about the War of 1812 because we're not one to, pat ourselves on the back, and we're very humble people, and we tend to talk ourselves down, not up, right? We're not a very arrogant people.
we didn't really win. I mean, nobody really won.
Yeah, but again, though, you hear about other countries talking about war all the time, and they celebrate or remember it all the time. We don't do a lot of that. We don't have and to the history point, we don't have a lot of that, and I think that some of that is to the typical Canadian personality, which is we don't talk a lot about ourselves.
And yet, I would think that as a country, Canada was partially born as a consequence of first the War of 1812, and then 100 years later, the First World War,
Right.
Which was huge for the Canadian psyche and the birth of because a lot of, I don't know, huge percentage of people that went into the First World War from Canada were still British citizens.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't
Okay.
really Canadian citizenship, right?
Yeah.
And that's.
Do you
But I think it started in the War of 1812 because of the militias and because of things like everybody pulling together, like you said.
Yeah.
But do you think, though, that Canada doesn't have much of an identity? Because
Well,
when
it
I think of
depends
the
on who you
Americans, okay, so I think of
I
the
think
Americans.
I think it's an ongoing struggle.
Yeah, and it's
The
probably
Canadian
because
identity.
because we are so accommodating and everybody works together, so we have all these different
And
interest
even did
groups.
back then.
So that we're not one. We're not saying you must be assimilated. Everybody does their own thing, and maybe that's why we all, it's the melting pot, right? So it's like, as opposed to America. When I think of America, there's a certain identity that I get when I think of Americans. There's a certain identity I get when I think of British people, and I don't know that happens in Canada so much because it's just a melting pot, right?
Well, I think that after the War of 1812, one thing was clear. Even though the border hadn't shifted that much, it suddenly existed,
Yeah.
in everybody's mind.
Yeah.
There was this side of the border and that side of the border.
Wow.
And that
Because
border
of
had
time.
to be defended for the first time, and which helped define
Yep.
the territory of this
Wow.
new.
And after the war was
Nice.
over and treaties were, the Treaty of Ghent was signed, then it was us and them.
Yeah.
For in a way, the first time, because it had been British North America
Right.
until the Revolution.
Well, they were just
anyway.
people escaping from the U.S. before that,
Yes.
except for the French Canadians, which were here for a long time. Okay.
Wow.
So let's talk about what's coming up, because it is the year celebrating 1812, and you've got another big event coming up,
We've
right?
got, it's our annual general meeting, and we're having Susan Spencer in from Hamilton, who operates Spencer's Mercantile. And I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of going to Hamilton and shopping at Spencer's Mercantile, but Spencer's Mercantile is camp. Well, they sell many other things, but it's essentially camp outfitter for reenactors. And as we were saying earlier, the people down in the little towns towards Niagara have been reenacting battles from the War of 1812
For a long time.
since, at least 100 years. Probably.
Really?
Wow.
Has it been
I
that
would
long?
think,
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, probably since at least the centennial,
Isn't
maybe
that
even
amazing?
longer. And it's hard to come by all of the things you need to be an early 19th century soldier or housewife or.
Because they got to
camp-
do it authentic. They have
They
to
do
cook that
everything.
way. They make
They
their
do
own bread and
everything.
all that kind of stuff,
They're
right?
not allowed to have any machine
Yeah.
stitching showing on their
Wow, isn't that
on their
amazing? costumes.
So So Susan's going to come and talk about women in the War of 1812, because women played a lot of roles. There were some women. I think it was done by lottery. You could elect or be drawn to follow your soldier husband, which meant you had to pack up the kids and have them in tow, and you were following the soldiers from camp to camp and washing their shirts and stitching their wounds up, or whatever was needed. But largely laundry and seamstress work and whatnot. But I mean, can you imagine?
No.
I mean, those battles were grim. But of course, they were those for the most part, they were those formal kind of battles. So you wouldn't be. It's not like guerrilla warfare where your children are probably not going to get shot.
Because the
battlefield is over
there.
There is a code of ethics.
Well, something.
Well, I mean, if you could just say, look, stop this now because you've destroyed enough, and they actually stop. I mean, when did you ever hear of politeness between enemies?
Well, I don't think the war of 1812 was all that polite, but I think maybe the women and children were, to some extent, off to the side. But there were women stationed in all those forts that were servants and doing. I mean, they were just handing water to soldiers, probably handing ammunition to. I mean, whatever needed to be done.
Wow.
I mean, it's not all Laura Secord running to warn Fitzgibbons.
Right. So now this event, or this, it's an annual
It's
general
our annual
meeting.
general meeting, and of course, our annual general meeting is a movable feast because our physical home being the post office. I don't know if you've been to Toronto's first post office, but none of our rooms is any larger than this one.
Okay.
And so if we're going to have a large gathering, we do it off-site. So we move our AGM every year, and we try to have it somewhere historic.
Like the Royal York Hotel or something?
Well, that's a little rich for our blood.
Okay.
Well, where's it going to be this year?
This year it's going to be in the meeting house at Riverdale Farm.
Oh, nice.
So it's a little awkward to get to, I think,
Yeah.
for people who, because it's not, you don't just pull up on a streetcar. But
Wow.
it'd be beautiful because, of course, it'll be in the evening, and people coming to the event will hear the hungry goats hollering for supper and whatnot.
Nice.
And it's a
How
beautiful.
appropriate.
It's
Somehow
wonderful.
appropriate.
We were nervous. I wanted to have it at the farm, but then there were threats of city staffers going on strike. So it's been just
Oh,
sort
yeah.
of
What's the date of the event?
May 7th.
May 7th. So the weather will be nice, hopefully.
Let's hope so.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It's going to be nice.
Let's hope so.
And I mean, people think of an AGM that it's only for certain people, but who can go to
open
this?
to the
Like, can
public?
anybody come
It's
to
open
the
to the
AGM?
public. We are charging $10 for non-members, but you can
Okay.
buy your membership at
Yeah.
the door. It's
Okay.
free for members, of course. And I think that people should come just if they haven't seen the farm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and
Okay.
and come and hear this talk about the little known role of women in this war that we're celebrating
Wow.
this year.
Now, what are so this is membership. It's free for members of the Toronto First
Town of York Historical
Town of York
Society.
Historical
I
Society.
know I've got two hats.
I mean, it's all related, but I mean, what are some of the advantages or some of the benefits to people who join the Town of York
Other than
Historical
the
Society?
Great feeling
Other than the great feeling that they get.
They're
that they're
contributing.
contributing. Well, for one thing, you get mail. You get
Okay.
real mail.
Wow.
We have a newsletter. Of course, it goes up on the
That's
website, but
historical
it
in and
also
of
gets
itself.
mailed to people with. We like to pick the nicest stamps, and we have historic
Wow.
cancels. So if people are into stamps, but also letter mail that goes out, or thank you letters or renewal letters. Everything goes out in the 1830s format,
Wow.
and that's sealed with a wax seal and folded and
Nice.
Oh.
just beautiful. So you get beautiful
Wow.
mails. You get bragging
Yeah.
rights. You can wave your mail in front of your friends. You get invitations to things and events that are free for you, obviously.
Yeah.
And you get a discount in our gift shop, 10% discount in the gift shop. We have all kinds of wonderful books on Toronto history.
And do you get to tour the place free or?
Yes.
Okay. And how much is the membership?
$25 a year.
Okay.
Look
so
at
that's
that.
reasonable. That's
You're
reasonable.
way ahead of the game already,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, that's like not even going to the movies. You know?
Yeah, no, it's a nice
Wow.
thing.
Okay.
Very nice.
So that's May 7th. And how, if people want to find out more, if they want to buy tickets or join the society, what's the best way for them to do that?
Call us up.
Yeah.
Or email us. It's because they should reserve, just so that we know how many
Okay.
numbers we're going to have.
Is the space limited?
The space is a little bit limited, and
Okay,
we
okay.
also we do try to offer light refreshments.
Okay.
So it's nice to know.
How many?
We don't want them to be too light. So
Right.
it's nice to know how many people are coming. So that our email is tfpo@total.net.
Okay.
Toronto First Post
Yeah.
Office, TFPO.
Yeah.
Yeah, at total.net.
Yeah.
And is there what's the website?
Website is townofyork.com.
Townofyork.com, and that will lead
Yep.
you to the post office stuff as well. That's amazing. Okay, anything else, Janet, that you want to let us know about
Well,
today?
I'd like to congratulate you on your first show.
Oh.
And Karen Millyard's coming on. Later,
Yes.
I see. And Karen's putting on an event this coming weekend, a Jane Austen weekend, and Toronto's First Post Office will be doing a workshop in that Regency letter writing.
Wow.
Sharpening your quill and
Wow.
making your ink. And
So as a member, would you get a discount to that workshop?
that's Karen's workshop. So
See, that's Karen's workshop.
Oh, I should. Okay.
Well, we're going to come back and talk to Karen in just a couple of
Wow.
minutes. So,
Well, thank you for
Listen to her.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, Janet, great to have you on. Thanks for coming and being our first guest in this new
you
scenario
so
here.
much.
So,
Thank
thank
you
you
for
for
having
coming
me.
in, and good luck with the event.
Thank you for the
and,
education.
Yeah.
All right then.
Okay.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
We're going to take a little break. Come back with Karen Millyard as Liquid Lunch continues. Be right back.
I left it too long to tell you how I feel. Now his lips will tell you, not mine. But if it don't sound the same when he whispers your name, I'll be waiting. I got nothing but time. Time goes slowly when you can't wait 1 minute more. The footsteps in the hallway, hand upon the door.
And welcome back to the show here. It's me, Hugh Sanders here, and we've got Karen Millyard here. And let's take a look at Karen, because you got all dressed up. We were talking a little bit about those reenactors, and
Wow.
you're doing some reenacting right now.
Pretty much, yes. This is a silk gown. It's an evening gown that would have been worn at very formal dinners or the opera or a ball. Although a woman of the sort of stature who could afford a gown like this probably would have had very elaborate head dresses and things
Okay.
like that, like feathers and, you know, probably wearing more jewelry than I am and that sort of thing. But
So
yes.
this is for the people who would be wearing that dress would be the richer people.
Yes, definitely. Silk in those days had started to be woven in Europe, but it was still extremely expensive. Before that, of course, it was only found in China and India. So it took huge amounts of time, very costly and dangerous sea journeys to bring it back. And of course, there were shipwrecks and there were pirates and all kinds of other things. So these things could often be lost, very risky expeditions. But there were silk weavers in England by this time, actually, most of them French, who had fled religious persecution in France, but they had set up in London and were doing very well because silk, of course, was very desirable fabric.
Right,
It's beautiful,
right.
rich, glossy, lovely fabric, and it feels wonderful to wear.
Is that silk?
That is
Can
silk.
I feel it?
You may
That's
feel
real
it.
silk?
Yes, it is. Yes,
Wow.
yes. This is from India. This
Wow.
silk. With the brocade weave, and there are some gold threads and some brilliants in the bodice.
Wow. Wow. It's
So-
a lovely color too. Sorry.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it
Beautiful,
is.
beautiful
I designed
color.
this gown.
Yeah.
I
Did
design
you
all my
really?
own gowns. Yes,
Really?
yes.
Let's look at it.
Wow, very nice.
Well,
I like-
women did
Can
in
you
those
hold this up?
days.
I like how these colors go together.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So this is my shawl, and most women would have worn shawls at some point or another, They were often paisley. Paisley was very popular. Very fine wools, sometimes very fine muslin, which was an extremely light, delicate cotton, was also very prized. Cottons were still very exotic, like silk. They, everything was, well, the Industrial Revolution had started a few decades before this period of the gown that I'm wearing. But, these fabrics, there's a lot of, the cotton itself had to be brought from other continents, and it was all very expensive, the whole process.
Wow.
So it was getting cheaper, but very, very fine cottons and muslins were considered just as prized. So if you came to the theater or a ball wearing a very filmy, diaphanous muslin or sheer cotton gown, that would be just considered
Isn't
wonderful.
that
It would be
interesting?
the height of fashion, yes.
Because cotton has pretty much been is main people,
Yes.
common folk people clothing now, but silk is still considered, still managed to maintain its higher status.
Yes.
That's interesting how
Yes.
one fell and one has maintained its higher status.
Yes, absolutely. Before this, the common person would have been wearing wool
Okay.
and linen. And now linen is sort of posh.
What is
Yes.
linen?
Oh, linen is flax. It's made from flax.
Oh, okay.
So,
Like the flax seeds, like things like.
Yes.
Oh my God.
yes. Flax,
Oh.
it creates a very tough fiber. Actually, it also turns into burlap. That's what jute becomes eventually. No, sorry, jute is burlap, and flax is made into all kinds of things. It was a very tough. It's a very tough, wonderful fiber, but very labor intensive because because of its toughness, it had to actually be sort of broken and soaked, and all these things had to be done to it, and then it had to be combed and all this sort of stuff in order to
Interesting.
weave it. So it was extremely labor intensive as well. And of course, wool, you had to rear the sheep, you had to shear the sheep,
Yeah.
you had to wash the wool, and so on, and card the wool, and then spin the wool.
And then when you're
very
wearing it, you're
time-consuming.
scratching incessantly. It's itchy, itchy, itchy.
Yeah, I suppose they got used to it.
I
But,
guess. I guess.
the good thing about linen is it's very cool.
Yeah.
So that would be
Yes.
an advantage.
Okay.
in summer.
What about hemp? You
Hemp.
hear a lot about hemp.
Do you know what? Actually, I don't know much about the history of hemp.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the history of hemp, so I cannot comment.
Okay.
And you know
Whether
what?
they were smoking it or wearing it,
I
I
have
don't
a
know.
T-shirt made out of soy.
Soy and bamboo, there are all kinds of great things
Bamboo's
going on
close
now.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
they started
I
making
didn't
all
know
kinds of things.
It's kind
out
of
it.
silky, isn't it? Sort of the.
I think they can do different things
Yeah.
with it now. You know how it is when technology progresses, you can get different effects after a while.
Isn't that
Yeah.
amazing?
Yeah. I
Wow.
saw
Okay.
something made out of bamboo recently. Mhm.
Wow.
All
Isn't
right.
that amazing?
So beyond the clothes,
Yeah.
because really what we're talking about is dance, right? You're a dance historian. Is that accurate?
Yes, I'm
Karen?
a dance historian, but I am also a social historian, and I'm increasingly interested in helping people put this dancing in context. So, why did they dance this way and not this way? We're all used to couples dance. That's like this. We're used to
Yes,
ballroom
yes,
dancing,
yes.
right, with a ballroom hold or waltz hold. But that came later. And it came right in, sort of at the end, toward the end of Jane Austen's lifetime, and it was extraordinarily scandalous. People in her circles she would never have waltzed. She would have, as a parson's daughter, she would never have waltzed. It was considered extremely risque when it was
That was
first
considered risque.
waltzing, yes, because you were actually touching each other for the first time in 200 years in the
okay.
ballroom.
Okay.
Until then, you only touched hands. For the last 200 odd years, you did not touch each other's torsos. So the fact that you were actually touching in public.
How did that happen?
My
I mean,
God.
I mean, think about it, right? How the
That is
sexual
so
revolution that
weird.
seems to
Yeah.
be continuing.
Yeah.
How did it ever get to be so, whatever that was?
Well, it's kind of interesting. It was in some ways a very formal society. The 18th century was very formal. So you have the Tudors, who were also quite formal in some ways, but very rough and ready. I mean, I haven't watched the television series, but if you know anything about, the Elizabethans, they were pretty rowdy.
Yes.
They were very
yes,
earthy.
Yes.
Having sex all over the place, and it was a pretty tough, earthy kind of time. Very realistic people, but they had their rules as well. Now, when you move into the 18th century, things sort of got more. Because Elizabeth died in, I think it was 1602, around there, And so after that, there was a series of other monarchs who sort of gradually increased the elegance of the court and brought in more French manners. By the time that Charles II came in at the Restoration in 1660, for example, he'd been living in France in exile. He brings back a lot of elegance, a lot of luxury. He has women on stage for the first time in English history because they were on stage in France. They were actors. You did not have female actors in England until that point. So all kinds of things were really changing. 18th century, more elegant still. So you have Baroque dance, which is very formal, very elegant, very stately, quite lively as well. But that's the precursor to ballet, for example.
Okay.
And so things were very dainty, in a sense. Maybe I shouldn't use that word. So at that point in ballroom dance, by which I mean just social dance, you were only touching with the hands because that was the height of elegance. It wasn't all rough and rowdy like it was in Elizabethan times where you were jumping all over the place. There were literally dances where the guy picked up the girl by the waist and tossed her over to the other side of him and things like that. Like, you know, it was very,
Wow.
it was very energetic, and there were all these kinds of things. So, so by the time you have around 1812, 1813, the waltz is introduced to England. It was just considered very shocking, very intimate to touch each other's bodies in public.
So the royal family would never do it.
Oh no. They were very proper. Well, they were very proper officially. The some of the sons, the princes, were extremely improper in private.
Just young, I guess, right? Push the
not
envelope.
in-
Even then,
not-
they wanted to push the envelope.
Yes, but some of them were just pretty much constitutionally misbehaving, compulsive liars, bigamists, womanizing, drunkards, and
Politicians.
politicians perhaps, but there seriously was a lot of that stuff going on. The Prince Regent in particular was pretty outrageous. He did have 2 wives. He lied about it. Everybody knew. He had illegitimate children. He had
God.
strings of mistresses, one of whom he actually installed as a lady-in-waiting to his brand new bride. I mean, he was a pretty nasty
Who
piece
was
of
that
work.
again?
The Prince Regent.
I have to study that life.
If you've heard of Mad King George, his father actually wasn't mad. It was a very unfortunate physical illness that caused his periods of insanity, but they lasted for long, long periods. And so when the second period of insanity hit, the government decided that it was time for a regency. So the eldest prince, the Prince of Wales, was appointed as the Prince Regent. And he, you know, there were some restrictions on him, but essentially he was in charge. His mother was there too, who was quite a tough cookie, but essentially he was in charge under the, you know, velvet fist of the government. But and then his father died in 1820, so he finally ascended the throne. But by that time, his health was pretty much broken by excessive drinking, gambling, womanizing, and overeating, and basically extreme indulgence of every kind.
Fabulous.
Wow.
Now, is that what's going to be going on at the weekend with Jane Austen?
The more things change, the more they stay the
Drinking,
same. How
gambling.
is that any different than today? Let me ask you.
Not much.
History repeats
Not
itself.
much. Yes,
over
it does.
and over and over and
Yes.
over again.
Yes, and actually, one of the reasons why this society really interests me is because they were much more down to earth than the Victorians. The Victorians got very prissy.
Did they
about
come
a lot of
later,
things.
the
The Victorians
Victorians?
came
Okay.
later, yes.
Okay.
And Queen Victoria ascended the throne in 1836, I believe it was. And so she was a very admirable woman in many ways, very, very good statesman or stateswoman. But yeah, she liked things to be very polite. So by the end of her life, she was having people drape their pianos with fabric so that you couldn't see the legs of the pianos. That's how proper
very
you had to
suggestive.
be. Yes, you couldn't even mention trousers in polite company.
So what would happen if you did?
People would be shocked. They would think you were disgusting. You were not quite the thing. You know,
so
you
were
would be
like low class.
Yeah, you
if
would damage your social reputation. You would not be received in certain houses if you continued with that sort of behavior. 1 or 2 things like that might have been considered a lapse, but then beyond that, it was, oh dear, this person is really not quite the thing.
They said trousers twice.
Yes. But in Jane Austen's period, they were much more frank. And so you see references in her books You'll see references to illegitimate children, to adultery, to fornication, to excessive
Unbelievable.
drinking, gambling, all kinds of things. Yeah, they were much more open. Childbirth is mentioned, pregnancy is mentioned, all kinds of things. So it was a period of transition. By the end of her life, they were becoming a little bit more restrained about things like that. But before that, no.
So she was probably her writing probably fell out of favor during the Victorian era, I would think. No.
She did not become the superstar that she is now until actually during the Victorian period. It's sort of interesting. I think that the sheer quality of her writing and her intellectual genius did impress people so much that it transcended some of these other things that they thought were rather coarse. You know, they overlooked the coarseness. But people did, because the whole school of English literary criticism was becoming more and more richly developed in the 19th century. So there were more and more literary journals. There were just more people. I mean, English literature at this stage wasn't studied in the universities. There was no such thing. You either bought the books or you took them out of a circulating library. You might have seen somebody like Dickens, for example, had started to... things were sometimes published in serials, so you'd get an installment of a novel published in a magazine or a journal, and you'd just buy all of the pieces. But literary history in England was being made without being studied at all. So the critics who were coming along in the 19th century were actually really important because they were getting the public to talk about these books in a different way and bringing people's attention to them. But she was very highly regarded by some of the finest critics and writers of her time. They just didn't know who she was because at first she published anonymously. People didn't really widespread know who she was until she died.
So what was her period then? Because
she was born in 1776.
Yeah.
So we know that date from the, 1775. So the year before the famous date associated with the American Revolution. And she died in 1817. So not a long life. No. But her masterpieces were all produced during that time. And she began writing as a child, actually. Her childhood writings are extremely funny, extremely witty, very brilliant. And her first published novel came along later, of course, in her adulthood. And she had at least one novel rejected. And then they later sent it back after she'd become, really popular. They sent it back to the original publisher, or not sending it back, but they got the manuscript back from him without telling him who she was. They bought it back for £10 and then said, nah, you just let go a book by Jane Austen. And of course he must have been, because by then she was known as, the writer of Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility. And
wow, isn't that amazing?
Nice little bit of revenge.
So why did she go anonymous?
Why did she? Sorry,
you said that she was anonymous in the beginning.
Oh, because there was this whole idea that women should not lead public lives.
That's what I So it had to do with her gender.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what
absolutely,
I wondered.
Yes.
Okay.
It also had to do with class to an extent, but she was not so very upper class.
Okay.
She was actually very minor gentry. She was the second daughter in a large family of children belonging to a country parson. So he was not a wealthy man. He was educated. He was genteel. But they were not rich, and so the sort of social circles that she writes about in her books are pretty much the circles that she lived in. She would have known very few people with titles, for example.
Okay.
She did know a few aristocrats, but very, very few. Most of the people, she might have known some baronets who had a title but were actually not aristocrats. They're the lowest or the highest gentry. So the sort of wealthy squire, the wealthy landowner, was the sort of person she would have associated with, and the respectable county families, but yeah. So those were the circles she moved in, and of course she knew more humble people too. So in fact, she knew a lot of people quite well that she didn't write about. She wrote about a fairly narrow slice of society, but there were only a handful of aristocrats in England at the time. There were really only a few hundred.
Karen, I almost feel like you're Jane reincarnated because you know so much about her and you speak about it like
Thank you.
are so familiar with her as opposed to just having studied her. It's almost like you have taken her on.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm fascinated by her world. I really, really am. I read about it compulsively. I spend basically what I read now is memoirs, diaries, journals,
Wow.
autobiographies, selected letters, and biographies of the time. And they are utterly fascinating, which is why I put together this weekend, because I fell so totally in love with this period and this culture. I mean, it has some horrible, horrible characteristics as well. They were really terrible in their treatment of animals, for example, and there were all kinds of injustices socially in terms of gender, all kinds of things. Class relations were really appalling, all sorts of injustice of various kinds. But it is a culturally extremely rich and fascinating and complex time. And I find the combination of social elegance and sophistication and the acknowledgement of earthiness and the life of the body to be a very interesting combination, because in the Victorian period you get a complete denial of the body, really. But in these times they had public rules. This is what you did publicly, this is what you didn't do publicly. But everybody knew that Lady so-and-so was sleeping with what's-his-face. Everybody knew that, you see. And yeah, and at the opera, for example, you could have the Duchess of whatever sitting directly across from the superstar courtesan of the time. And all kinds of completely upper class, respectable men were coming into the opera box of the courtesan to visit with her, and everybody saw him. It was completely public.
What was going on?
Well, the fact that he visited her didn't necessarily mean that he was partaking of her services professionally, but she was visited socially by every stratum of society as far as they were male. The respectable ladies could not visit them or speak to them. They even had different lobbies at the opera. So the courtesans and the hookers and the madams and people like that would be in one lobby, and the respectable ladies would be in the other. Yeah.
Wow.
But at the opera, at the end of the opera, two things would happen. Either you would go to the ballroom in the same building to partake of the ball if you were a respectable person, or you'd go to the champagne suppers being offered by these extremely entertaining, witty, clever, and wonderfully entertaining hostesses, the courtesans who had these champagne suppers after the opera.
Wow.
So is that what you're going to have going on in this Jane Austen weekend?
Well, I didn't think I would go quite that far. However, we do have some wonderful stuff happening. It's going to be really interesting. Again, the sense of context. I want people to understand what it was like to write with a quill pen. You sat down to write a letter. You didn't do this and then hit send.
Yeah.
You know, you
Yeah.
took out your quill. You sharpened the quill if it needed mending. You took a piece of paper. You ruled the paper with a pencil.
Oh, wow. Wow. It
You
wasn't
wrote
even
your-
lined. The paper wasn't even lined?
No, no. So you wrote your letter, and you often made a copy of the letter. I mean, if you were just writing to a very close friend or family member, you were just dashing off a note.
Right,
Okay.
right.
But a lot of people kept letter books, so you would compose the letter first,
Okay.
write it out, you'd copy it into your letter book, and then you'd make a fair copy, which was the one you sent. And remember, paper, again, was handmade. So it was all very expensive. All of this was very expensive.
Wow.
And they sometimes crisscrossed their letters. So if you had something, you had a letter with the usual way, written like that. If you didn't have much money, you would then turn the paper sideways, and you'd write
In the margins?
across. You'd write straight
Oh,
across.
oh,
You'd
I
make
see.
it
Right over on
Okay.
top of that. So it would be hard to read.
It would be very
Well-
hard to read, but poor people were good at that because they had to save money
Isn't
in
that
order to do that.
amazing?
And there were no envelopes. So you had to fold the paper, you had to fold your letter with the writing inside,
Huh.
and then seal it with wax, which is what people are going to learn how to do on Saturday afternoon, how to write with a quill and how to sand and seal their letters. And the letters will then be franked and posted at Toronto's First Post Office. And you just had Janet Walters here
Yes,
from Toronto's
yes.
First Post Office.
So, are people who are members of the Toronto Historic, is there any kind of relationship between here? Is there any kind of membership?
There's no
Okay.
formal relationship.
Okay.
The York Historical Society is a fabulous organization. They've got a wonderful website. They do all kinds of really intriguing things, and they run that post office,
Okay,
which is
okay.
great. And it's a fully functioning post office on Adelaide East, just near the St. James's Park, where the Occupy Toronto site used to be, near the cathedral. And it's a great small museum. But Kate McCauley, who is conducting that workshop, works at Toronto's First Post Office. So she's going to be conducting the workshop for us and bringing quills. There will also be quills and ink pots and paper for sale.
Wow.
Yeah, at the weekend. And we've got all kinds of things. We've got a naval historian who's going to be talking about what it was like to live on board one of the warships of the time.
Wow.
Sleeping in a hammock, you know, getting your grog every day, and all the grog was made of rum. They had, yeah.
That sounds like a good lifestyle.
It
I
was
wish I could sleep in a
challenging.
hammock.
And have grog.
Well,
And have grog. Is that
Sure.
where the term groggy comes from?
Maybe.
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So grog was a mixed. It was mixed with various things, including I think hot water, and lime juice. That's where they got the nickname limeys. The English tars. That's another nickname for them. But the English seamen got the nickname limeys because they had to take citrus fruits on board ship with them to prevent scurvy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because if you had scurvy, your teeth would start falling out, and old wounds would start opening. So if you had battle wounds,
Wow.
they would just start reopening and stuff like that. Pretty grim when you're on. Yeah, and some of these men were on board ship for years at a time. They
Oh
they
my
sometimes
God.
they sometimes
So that
literally
grog
did
came in
not.
handy.
It did, and they looked forward to it. They were also drunk a lot of the time, which is causing
That's
a lot
the
of
side
accidents.
effect of grog.
Naval
That was-
tradition.
Yeah, it was both an incentive. But it actually caused a lot of injuries and death because they would fall out of the rigging and things like that. Because they had to go up in the
Oh.
rigging in all weathers, 24 hours a day. You know,
Oh.
they had to. And if you've ever stood on the deck of one of those ships, I have. I've been on board 2 warships, and they are huge.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I
So
can
you
just
look up
imagine.
way up, and you see the top of the top uppermost part of the mast, and you think they had to go up there in a gale, in a storm, in the middle of the night, in ice and snow and whatever. And it's amazing that more of them, in fact, didn't fall and die.
It's not so bad. Once you get up into the rigging, it's really not so bad.
You can tell us. Yeah.
Maybe you should be at this workshop kind of giving your
Well, I've had
Yeah,
to climb
expertise.
rigging, not on those
Have
old
you
ships,
really?
but on a sailboat in a
Oh, yeah,
storm and
yeah.
climb up and do something on the mast.
It's
You
pretty-
just do it.
You
I mean,
do it
you
'cause
get
you have to.
you just well, it's funny. It sounds like it's really hard, but when you're there and just dealing with it, it's not so bad.
Well, and of course, you're also saving your own life by doing it because,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes if you didn't do this or that, like if you didn't take the sails down, the ship could wreck or the mast could come down or whatever. You have to do those
Wow.
things in order to ensure everybody's safety. So, and of course, there was a lot of adrenaline flowing in situations like that. I mean, it was urgent.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Plus, you got the
So-
grog to look forward to. So,
Yeah.
okay, so this is this weekend. This is coming up, right?
Yes.
Have we told everybody everything that's going to be here? Is
That's
there anything else
necessary,
people
yeah.
should know about?
Sure. There are a couple just quick things. Friday night is a lamplight tour of Fort York, which is an
Okay.
1812 era fort just down by the lakeshore. There's parking. You can also take TTC. So we're having a lamplight tour of selected buildings of the fort. We're having a cold buffet supper. We are having a dance demonstration of dancing from the period and a fashion show.
wow.
And yes, so that's going to be
Sounds
quite
like a
wonderful.
Full night.
Yes, it's going to be great to
Wow.
start off the weekend. And then Saturday is on the Danforth, and we've got a full day of lively, entertaining lectures and workshops. The letter writing workshop is in the afternoon. The dance workshop's in the afternoon. We'll have a dinner break. People just go out wherever they want to go on the Danforth. And then we have a ball with live music. The ball is almost sold out already, actually.
Wow.
So
Oh.
that's, yeah.
Where is that? Gonna
That's
be?
also on the Danforth and Chester, right at
You've
Chester
had this
Subway.
before in that same location,
yes.
haven't you?
And but I do hold balls in various places in the city, so it isn't always in the same place. And then Sunday we have the full day at Montgomery's Inn, which is another small museum, absolutely lovely place. And we're having
By Islington and Bloor.
yes,
or
Islington
what-
and Dundas West.
right.
So it's a little bit north of the subway. It's like 2 stops north
Right,
of the subway,
right,
or
right.
just a pleasant
Beautiful
walk.
place.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
it is great. I've been
And
there.
surrounded by gardens and lawns and things.
Yeah.
It's very lovely.
And a great time of year to be doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and we have a
Yeah.
historical breakfast that is going to be absolutely scrumptious, really delicious. It's one of the favorite drinks for breakfast in those days was spiced drinking chocolate. So
Oh
cocoa,
my God.
very luxurious, absolutely delightful. So we're going to have that and all kinds of wonderful foods, some of which will be totally familiar to people today and some of which will be a little less familiar as breakfast foods, but all just wonderful hot crumpets and all kinds of stuff.
And
and
people
then
can wear normal clothes.
Yeah, they can. It's
Okay.
optional. If people want to dress
Clothing
like
is
this,
optional?
they can. Clothing is optional. the nudist Jane Austen
You know
weekend.
that?
No, we haven't gone quite that far yet. But and then that will be followed by two more informal lectures. One is on historical lace making, and the other one,
Nice.
the other one is on Regency underwear. So if
Oh.
you're interested in finding out what they wore underneath those breeches and coats
Cute.
for the gentlemen, or those gowns for the ladies, or for both, all you have to do is come to that. And
Interesting.
in the afternoon, to wind up, it's going to be one of the highlights of the weekend, is a concert of music from Jane Austen's own personal collection. She was an avid musician. She loved playing the piano, played for hours every morning, as long as she was able to own a piano.
Wow.
And so she collected many, many, many pieces of music, painstakingly copied out in quill, ink and quill.
Wow.
And so, yes, so the pianist for the concert is also a musicologist at York University. She has researched the whole thing. She went to the British Library, dug out the music, and has put together a really delightful program. And so that is going to be sort of, the
Nice.
jewel in the crown of that afternoon. And then following that, we will have tea and Regency table games and tours of the inn.
Wow, very nice.
That's
What
amazing.
a full weekend. You're going to be one busy girl.
Yes, but it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Now, how do people get information about this? Is there a website where they can go buy tickets
Yes.
or something?
The easiest way is to go to my website, which is Jane Austen Dancing, and that's Austen with an E. Jane Austen Dancing, all one word, .ca. And
Wow.
the full schedule is there. You can pay by PayPal. You can register right online. I will put a notice on the website if the ball sells out, which it almost certainly will. It's the tickets are just going really, really fast. But I'll keep people posted. And there's a mailing list if people want updates. And yeah. And if anyone watching this show is web savvy, so I don't need to worry about that.
Yes.
But all the information is there, full schedule, venues and everything, prices and all that stuff.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
great, Karen.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thank
coming in.
you,
Great to see you
Karen.
It was a
again.
pleasure.
Thank you
and,
for Jane
yeah.
is living through you. She lives and
Do
breathes.
you think
Oh,
you're
thank
reincarnated? Do you
you.
think you?
Sometimes.
I'm not kidding, because you even go into this proper kind of English thing happening here. And I'm so self-conscious of my posture. Were you self-conscious of your
Well,
posture?
actually, I was slumping. You see, she would have sat like this. She'd have sat like this all the time. Your back did
Oh
not
my
touch the back of the
goodness.
chair.
Wow. Oh my goodness, that would be, I can't do
Proper
that.
young ladies or older ladies
Wow.
or everybody actually was supposed to sit like that.
I think we need
How about
back
those
braces.
improper courtesans? You got that one down. Oh yes. Okay, we're gonna have to have you back, and we can do a whole show on that.
Even her laugh. Listen to that laugh. Even that laugh is not human.
No. Oh dear.
Okay, Karen, great to have you on. Thanks for
Thanks
doing
very
this.
much.
Thank you, Karen.
So we're going to take a little break. Check out JaneAustenDancing.ca, and we're going to come back with Lionel from Tika Town, and he's brought some talent in, and we're looking forward to
was
some live
so much
performances.
fun.
We'll be right back.
That was so much fun. Thank you.
Gonna jump right off of this love out of control. Wrestle with the demons in my soul.
crack. It's Frenchie, Tiki Town Records. Yeah, yeah.
I'm on the grind. I'm on the grind. I'm on the grind. I'm on the grind. I'm on the grind, but it's on my mind. I'm on the grind.
Check it out. Hey young girl, it's your boy French, you remember. You know the one that's born in December, but his flow is hot like Mayweather. Temperature, I persevere to the struggle, I don't stop. My heartbeat is my time clock, I'm focused, I won't stop. Hoping I won't flop whenever my things drop. Patience I got.
I never had a chance to really make it right. But since I did it, I would never dance precise. The point I'm trying to make, so let me be precise. Striving for the top, that's a missionary life.
As the journey continues, the hard work continues. All I want is bread, so there's no need for menu. And I got next, my mind's all set, so don't get vexed. You gotta play chess. Haters and posers won't get that far. Wishing and hoping you'll be that star. My man, that's on a mission, my plan is ammunition. I'm handsome in addition of man, to the dishes. In my early 20, living life like it's a frenzy. Drink hard, twist block centuries. We twisting and party hardy like it's New Year's Eve. C'est la vie.
Steady on the grind, man, what else am I supposed to do?
I'm going till the day I get a peace of mind. I hold on to my dream and I'll be alright.
Heartbeat is my time clock, got no time to waste.
Yeah, I chill for a little, so I party shit a little. When I kick it with a minute, so I'm smoking for a little.
Steady on the grind, man, what else am I supposed to do?
I'm going till the day I get a peace of mind. I hold on to my dream and I'll be alright.
Heartbeat is my time clock, got no time to waste.
Yeah, I chill for a little. When I party just a little. When I kick it with a minute, so I'm smoking for a little.
Here after that live performance by Frenchie, and On the Grind was that first song, right?
Nice song. We only heard a snippet though, right? We didn't hear the entire thing, so that was a real teaser.
Yeah, it's just a teaser, because the mixtape's coming soon, so that's why I had to tease him a little bit. But
yeah,
it's to get people to come and hear the whole thing,
it's
right?
funny.
Exactly.
I heard that song before because I think you performed it last time you were here.
Oh yeah, well I didn't get to perform because I was quite nervous, but we played the song though at the last show.
Yeah. So
you got rid of the nerves. You did an awesome job.
Oh, thank you.
But it sounded familiar, when I heard it, because when the chorus kicked in, it's like, there's that hook
again.
that I've heard before
Yeah.
from the last time you were here. And that's what I think what makes a hit is that the fact that you go, oh yeah, that sounds really familiar.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I don't know if they say with songwriters when there's a formula, right?
Yeah.
There's a formula, and they say that the chorus has to pay for your kid's college.
Exactly. It's all about the hook.
Is that true?
I mean, I never heard of that, but it makes sense. But I look at it like a boxing fight. Like the verses are the jabs, but the hook is the hook.
See?
So, yeah.
So
and that's what people come to pay to see, right?
Exactly.
It's that hook.
It's that hook.
Right?
It's
In
the
boxing,
hook.
I mean.
Exactly.
And
That's how Tyson wins his fights, with the hook.
It's not the biting of the ear.
Yeah.
That wasn't him, was it? Was that?
Yes.
Was it? Oh.
Okay, I just have to tell you, Tyson has gone vegan. Just want you to know, Tyson
Really?
is now a vegan.
So
and
no
he's
more
gone
ear
spiritual.
biting.
No.
Maybe a cucumber or something.
Yes.
No. So Frenchie, so what have you been up to since the last time you were here?
Oh man, I just been in the studio with working with Tiki Town Records. Working on this new project that we about to release called Now or Never CD. I'm very excited about it. It's gonna be all original songs, and also a lot of shows. I've been doing, and a lot of freestyle battles I've been doing.
Yeah.
And yeah.
On the Grind is original, right?
It is original.
Okay. And the next
yes.
song we hear
is also original.
is going to be original.
Yes.
Okay.
And this album's all original.
It's gonna be all original. Yeah.
So now, how do you get the word out these days? Like, is it easy to put out the record and then get it into the radio stations, get airplay? Like, I don't know if.
Well, it's very tough. It's still tough, but it's all about. One thing I've learned is that it's about who you know. That can help you. It's about who you know. It's not about what you know. It's about who you know. So.
Wow, so that's why it helps to be Ticket Town.
It definitely it's a big advantage, and also it's just you have to be humble about it, and hopes, and hopefully I get there.
Wow.
Yeah.
The thing that I really like about your music is, at least the first song that we've heard so far, if there's a nice rhythm to it, it's nice. It's I can, you know, I can kind of feel myself moving. It's not harsh. It's kind of got this nice, beautiful flow, and I actually can move along with the lyrics. It's not, and I'm not into rap. Okay, I may come as a surprise, but I'm not into rap. But this I could get into.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not too harsh for me,
Right.
so I could really kind of there's a definite flow that I can relate to, so I really liked it.
Thank you.
Really
Well, it's all
liked
about like when you love something so much, and it just comes naturally, and also I want to make it appealing to everyone. I just don't want to stick to one crowd. I want everyone to get appealed to it.
Well,
so.
that's the whole point. I actually think it could cross over.
Oh yeah.
I do think
that's the mission. That's definitely what I want to do.
Yeah.
But here's what I sense too, Frenchie, and I don't know if I'm maybe I'm right or wrong about this, but I get the sense that you're not really trying to. You know how sometimes a record company will come to an artist and say, "We need you to write a hit."
Yeah.
Right, and then so they bend over backwards to try to do what the record company or what somebody else is telling them to do. But it sounds to me what you're doing here is that's whatever you're writing, whether it's going to cross over or not, is stuff that's just coming out of you naturally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because this is what I go through, This is what I go through, and also things I've learned, and it's all about life in general. You don't need to try to sit at home and think about something. You go back to your life. It's like a movie, in your head. You go back, say, hey, I've been through this. Let me just write this down, and then. And people are obviously going to relate to it because they go through the same thing, and that's why it comes naturally. Because music, it speaks to your soul. So, yeah.
So would you say your messages, Frenchie, are positive?
Absolutely, I definitely think they are positive. Like I said in the previous show, like I understand this business at first. Sometimes I would have to make some records just to, sell. But at the same time, I definitely have a mission and I have a message to get out there especially to the young people these days, and and to different crowds, and to let them know where I come from and what I go through and what I'm going through. And
well, there's nothing to say that you can't write music that sells, that isn't positive. It doesn't always have to be about conflict and negativity and negativities. There are some positive messages that can sell, right?
Absolutely.
And that can be the real.
Is that's an interesting question, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you say you're on a mission and you have a message. And how would you define that? What is the mission? What's the essential message in a nutshell?
First thing, I like to touch base on like situation where I think it's not being touched. Like for instance, right now I'm 23. I had my child when I was 17 years old. And I see that after I had my child, like I've seen like my generation, a lot of people started having kids at a young age. So, I would like to touch base on why, ask questions like why is this happening? But in order for me to touch such topics, I would have to get people's attention first. So that's why I'm doing music just so that people are, familiar with it. And once they know who I am, then that's when I'm going to start touching these topics. And I have it all written down. Like that's what I mean when I have a mission. It's not just little topics like that,
Yeah. Is that a problem if people are having kids?
Absolutely. It's definitely a problem.
Yeah.
It is a problem. Because like right now, although like I am in my child's life, in the beginning, me and her mother, we really had some tough times, but we're not together. And unfortunately, my child has to live with the fact that, my parents are not together, although they are supporting me, but they're not together. So a child shouldn't have to go through that,
Plus, you were a child having a child.
Exactly. I grew up with my father and my mother. So now seeing my child not growing up like that, it really hurts me. And she asks me these questions all the time, but I can't answer that. I said, you know what, you have to be better than me, and we have to lead by example. And, I'm not going to say I made a mistake because I don't want her to feel like she was a mistake, but I want to, make it better, right? So therefore, that's why I would like to touch and based on topics like that, things that in the rap industry, they don't really talk about that. They talk of the opposite. They say stuff like, derogatory. They'll say stuff like, oh yeah, I had a kid and I'll let it go and it's cool. It's not supposed to be cool.
Why does that seem to be? And I no, not all rap is like that, but a lot of it that goes big, and I've seen even documentaries to say not just rap, but the whole music industry in general. They tend to try to put out those kind of negative kind of messages?
Well, it's the media, well, it's also like us people, like, we just accept it. It's like, if a baby is born, for example, and you feeding him junk food all the time,
Guess what?
he's just gonna get used to it.
And it's going to be probably overweight and
Yeah,
unhealthy and the whole
exactly,
thing.
exactly. But once you start introducing him to broccolis, he may not like it in the beginning, but it's good for him. As he grows, he starts to realize, hey, I'm in health, I'm in good shape. Maybe this is good for me. This is the same thing with society. You just it's not going to be good. The truth hurts, but it's necessary.
Yeah.
People need to hear that. And it's unfortunate that right, the age we live in right now, like, people have to, like, they have the idea of being cool.
Yeah.
So therefore I have to do these sorts of things, and
Well,
it's very
it's true.
unfortunate.
When you look at the mainstream media, you look at the Sun and the Star, and you see it's all negativity on the front page. How many positive stories do you see there on the front page?
Exactly.
There's not a lot of positive stories.
Yeah.
But it's not to say that we wouldn't want it if it were given, if we had the option. I just don't know that we have the option.
Right.
I don't know. Frenchie, do you have the answer? I mean, because you're
He
trying
does.
to,
He actually
you're
does
actually
have the
trying
answer.
to
He's
deal
trying
with
to
some
be
of
the
these
answer.
issues, right, in your music and in your message.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like, me, I just do it the best way I can, and the only way I know how to do it is through my talent, And I really believe that music really has a major impact on people, because when you wake up, you want to go to the gym, you play your music. It's like every day there's music.
Yeah.
So it has an impact on people, and if we keep on feeding people with negativity, they will be negative. If
Well,
they accept it.
To your point, the answer is alternative media, alternative record labels,
Exactly.
alternative, like Thriving Live.
Yeah.
That's the answer, where you get to actually choose and go and not be kind of bombarded with stuff that you don't really want to watch or read or listen to, right? So that's I mean, I think if you would go to like a big record label, you'd probably be stuck in that.
It depends. You see, it's a battle. It's a battle within. It's about, like, the artist, for example, have to learn to stand up for himself and say, you know what? No, I'm not gonna put that music. I'm not gonna put that music. And
How
the
many
record
artists do that, though? How many artists will do that, Frenchie?
because they're scared.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
Yeah.
they're afraid, because they're afraid to lose that marketing.
Of course.
But if you, before you got signed, if you were able to build your own fan base, then you're okay.
You don't even need to get signed anymore.
That's true. That's a good
right?
Pretty
point.
much.
That's a
You
good
know,
point.
When Drake came out, I mean, he had such a big buzz before he even got signed. A lot of labels
Yeah.
wanted him. A lot of artists right now they don't have a record deal, but they're like major, So
Yeah.
I mean, it helps to have a label, but nowadays it's not really necessary. But it's all up to the individual. You have to learn how to stay strong and remember the principles.
Yeah.
Well, the one good thing about not going to big labels, you become your own business person. So then when you do go to a label, if you do go to a label eventually, like Drake or whoever, you have that sense of business
Exactly,
already.
yeah.
So you do have a lot more confidence to be able to say,
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, because you have principles. You have a base that you want to keep it the same. You have your fan base, people that look up to you. We're role models, no matter what. Like, we're
Yeah.
adults. Everyone's a role model. no
Well,
matter
anybody
what.
who's in the media, any form of artist is going
Yeah.
to be a role model
Yeah.
as well. No matter what you do, you're going to be a
Exactly.
role model,
Exactly.
right?
'Cause
So
there's
that's a big
always-
responsibility.
Yeah, well, definitely is. That's why we have to watch what we say. I mean, it's hard for me in the beginning, like I said, because I understand that in the beginning, in order for me to catch people's attention, I would have to do some certain songs, which I don't really like. But it's like, I got to do it just to start off. But once I see that, I'm in that comfortable space and I'm getting a lot of attention, that's when, like, the music's gonna start changing. And plus, a lot of people told me that they like me better when I make my positive music.
And you
Yeah.
do your
But
own
it's-
thing.
Yeah, when I do my own thing, and I like it too, because when I hear myself, I'm like, I can't believe I wrote that.
I think it always comes off better when somebody's being authentic and they're putting out what's real.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's a good
Because
point.
if it's not real, it everybody knows it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely is.
Well, so this album that's coming out, when's it going to be released?
Well, I don't have a date yet. I was hoping probably by the end of June. I don't have a set date yet, but it should be out pretty soon. We have a lot of songs, and I'm
So you're
very
in the
excited
mixing
about
and
it.
mastering stages right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
We're in the
okay.
mixing and mastering, and we're looking at about adding a couple more songs to it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
so
what's the name of the?
It's
the
called
CD?
Now or Never.
Now or Never.
Yeah, Now or Never. I chose that title because I believe it's a state of mind that my generation is in right now. Because
Very
you know,
cool.
we're in a point where, you know, you look back and you say to yourself, like, what am I going to do with my life?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to be a firefighter? Am I going to be a police officer? Like, it's now or never. I got to make a decision now.
So
or
this
never.
has nothing to do with 2012.
No, it has nothing. I don't believe in that. I do not believe in that.
It's now or never. It's always been now or never.
Yes, yeah,
right?
exactly.
Absolutely.
Now or never. Yeah.
Now, do you have any shows coming up?
Yes, I do have a show next Tuesday. It's at Barney's Joint in Scarborough.
Okay.
Where's
It's
that?
called Barney's Joint.
Where's that?
I don't have the location on me.
Do you have an intersection?
It is
Lawrence
Kennedy and Lawrence.
Kennedy.
Kennedy and
Okay.
Lawrence. So
Yeah.
says
Right
your
on.
manager.
Yes, exactly. So it's Barney's Joint. I perform there every other Tuesday.
Kennedy and Lawrence.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna be there, and I have another one on Thursday.
What
Shining
time is
Stars.
that at Barney's Joint?
Barney's Joint is gonna. It's the short. Opens up at 9 p.m.
Okay.
9 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other one?
And the other one is on Thursday. It's called Shining Stars. It's actually like a kind of like an audition, and once if I do win, I will get to go on a tour.
Nice.
Nice.
A
So,
tour?
Yeah, a tour across Canada. So,
With who?
well, I'm definitely gonna bring Ticket Town with me. And
Oh, so you're the headliner. It's not like
yeah, exactly.
Cool.
I'm definitely the headliner. Yeah.
That's great. Well, listen, I wish you all the best with that contest.
Oh, thank you.
And
yeah, good
and
luck.
the record is sounding great. In fact, we're going to go with another live performance.
This is
What's
called-
this second song called?
This one right here is called "Look at Us."
or is it Mon?
Oh, sorry, my apology. It's called the Nomadic Tendency.
Okay.
The Nomadic Tendency?
Yeah,
Okay.
Nomadic Tendency, and this one.
I heard that
is-
when we were warming up, and it sounded
Yeah.
really good too.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
Really like
All
that
right,
one.
great. And if somebody wants to get a hold of you, do you have a website or?
Oh yeah, you can always follow me at Frenchie. So that's Frenchie is French and 2 E's and the number 2 at the end. So at Frenchie 2, and
That's on Twitter.
yeah, that's a Twitter.
At
Yeah.
Frenchie2, French EE2.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And also you can I have my YouTube account. It's MYLOKEE, low key, and also you can always search me on Facebook.
So when are we going to
Yeah,
see some
Frenchie.
raps in French?
Oh, it's pretty soon. You'll be surprised.
So how do you make those French words rhyme?
Oh, I will. I definitely will. I know how to do it. It comes easy. I will definitely do that, and I will do it in Spanish too. So
Wow.
You'll be
Okay,
surprised.
that's amazing.
yeah,
We're gonna have to have translated your lyrics or something.
it's gonna be fun, but it's a challenge. But I'm gonna do that.
Good luck, Frenchie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. And also on Tika Town, I guess people can go to the Tika Town website, tikatown.com.
Yeah, TiketTownRecords.com.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, Frenchie. Always a pleasure. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming in.
Thank you
All the
for
best.
having
Thank you.
We're going to go out with this next track, The Nomadic
Nomad.
Tendency from Frenchie, and we're going to come back with Graham and Monika Burwise as Liquid Lunch continues. We'll be right back.
It's your boy French Dash Double E. Shout outs to Hugh Riley, Ticket Town Records, and Sandra. Check it out. Started off young and reckless, I wasn't proud of it. The young and the restless, there ain't no doubt in it. Lil Congo kid, reminiscing I did. Francophone on English to the day I touched the microphone. Lots of changes happen when I landed in this nation. This is not tourism, this is immigration. You can't compare the two, man, it's different now. If you don't get it, let me break it down. Had to learn to be adaptive, the culture was hard to captive. Haters make fun of my accent, but the girls that kept me active, so it turned into a profession. Felt like I was progressing, plus I did love the attention, love the and romancing. Caucasian introduced me to blazing, put my mind on vacation on several occasions from different locations. Started running with killer bees, with felonies. Mama witnessed a different me that wasn't meant to be. Stop. Shocked by the fact that baby girl's born 17 at early age, man, it got me all torn. get better since my ways now they long gone. Yeah, it may be funny to you, cause you couldn't work on my shit, what can I do? So I had to finish high school, college still in progress, cause it's me that she look up to.
Lot of judgment and it irritates, but I won't let it penetrate, cause music is my getaway. I'm trying to be what I'm meant to be, but got nomadic tendency. Makes me wanna flee, cause it's hard to achieve with my nomadic tendency. Trying to take it beyond, trying to take it beyond and on and on. Trying to take it beyond, trying to take it beyond and on and on and on and on.
Welcome back to Liquid Lunch. We're here with Graham and Monika Burwise.
I'm so excited about this.
I know you. I thought you would be.
I love these guys already.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So
Welcome,
let's.
guys.
So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
Yeah. So now I know you were on Joe's show, the Cube Talk Show.
Yes.
I didn't even know you were going to be on that day.
We are going around.
Yeah, I know. Now, what were you guys talking about on Joe's show?
Money and abundance, and it's actually how spirituality applies into how to even wrap around our heads around the money issues, about the money topic, and what is abundance, what's prosperity, and how it differs, and why people are having so much challenges in finances. And it was very interesting, actually.
Well,
Yeah.
what was your answer to that question?
Oh my gosh.
I have an
That's
answer to
a
that
$60
question.
million
What is your
question.
And it's got nothing to do with like how, what your mental outlook is, or whether you're doing the secret properly, or the law of attraction.
No.
I think our money is just dysfunctional. Like what
Well,
our money is
Money is an illusion in the first place.
it's pretty real when you have to pay the rent at the end of the month.
It is, definitely. But that comes the concept of abundance. How abundant are we? What is abundance? The abundance is the whole unified field. It's the consciousness itself. It's
Actually,
everything.
okay, that's sure.
And how allowing are we to be open to that abundance to come into our life in all forms, rather than just money. But we were so fixated on the money that we forgot about all sorts of other possibilities that could enter our life and sustain it.
And that's a really good point, Monika, because a lot of times we'll ask about money, and I'm just going to put myself in here. Anyways, we're a little off here. Okay, a lot of times we ask about money, and we this is thriving live. This is in the
We're
moment.
thriving right now.
This is
isn't it?
absolutely incredible. So a lot of times we talk about it and we want more money, and we say we want to be able to pay our rent, but we fixate on how that abundance is going to come in the form of a dollar sign. And it may not. Who knows? Maybe the landlord of the building might say, you know what, can you take over for a month because I'm going away, so can you be the landlord for all the tenants, and then you don't pay me any rent for that month.
Absolutely.
Right?
And
Is that what you're talking about?
absolutely. And we gave specific examples how that can come into our lives. And I personally, in my life, had many examples that when I first focused on having money, I need to have money, I need to have money for my car. And what happened? The car came from my boss.
There
The
you
moment
go.
I let go
There you
of the
go.
fact that I need to have the money for my car, I received a car. So how open are we to receive,
Oh,
and
yeah.
how to exercise the muscle?
So so our thinking of money is like really a relationship, right? It's really the relationship we have with what money means to us, right?
Well, there's there's a bit more to that whole thing as well, in
Okay.
terms of we all we all have value in the world. We all provide some kind of function. If you want to look at that in terms of purpose, you can stretch it to there. Very often, what we seek as reward for that value that we bring isn't money. We think we want money because that's what society defines in terms of reward, but very often it'll be somebody who is insecure will be seeking validation, and they get lots of pats on the back, a lot of recognition, a lot of validation, but it won't come in the form of money, because that's what your internal mental focus is. So you're defining your feedback in terms of that internal and it's almost subconscious. You'll have insight if you look, but it's not going to be a fully conscious process.
So are you saying, Graham, that if someone instead of gives you money, says, "Oh, good job," and pats you on the back, then because we are looking as money as the payback, that we don't consider that pat on the back as valuable? Is that what you're saying?
Well, if you look at people who deal with a lot of money, who are wealthy, and they're good to receive some validation, but they're going to say, "Show me the money." So, and it's, like I said, it's a very subconscious thing, and it's kind of to do with our unspoken relationship with the universe in terms of our conscious connection. But it's what shows up for us is very much related to who we are and the weaknesses we have and our unfulfilled needs that are bubbling around inside.
So how we kind of summarize that is, behind wanting the money, there's something else deep inside. So the reason why we are not getting in life what we want, because we don't know what we really want. It's not the money that we want. What are we going to do with that? Put the little pieces of paper on our wall and look at this? Of course not.
Right.
Most likely it is some sort of desire within us, whether it's a security or freedom or feeling empowered or whatever that is that we really want. We want to travel the world, or we want our money. We want to have a healthy family that is being sustained by, who have freedom to do whatever they want, or we want money. And I think that the moment we clarify that what we really want, that's when it starts to show up in our lives. And actually we are writing a book right now on spiritual money and abundance. And we are talking a lot about stuff like this, including the inner guidance, the management. A lot of interesting stuff will come up from that book, because it's pretty much the 20 years of research that we did on abundance and money and all that stuff, and how it shows up in our life. Very interesting stuff.
So you guys have been researching this for 20 years.
Pretty much.
Wow. And have you seen...
the whole personal development and personal spiritual evolution thing, but abundance features heavily in that.
Right. Have you noticed any changes in the collective psyche in that 20 years? Have you noticed a movement towards a more open, or...
Plenty, yeah. There's a big movement now to, how I explain it to people is that previously, in past years, past generations, the growth was very much a collective thing. So very far back in history, the whole of humanity was growing.
Okay.
And they grew as a collective. So each member could pretty much sit back and take advantage of that collective thing. Then it became sort of more cultural. Each culture was progressing as a unit. And it became societal. It's more more compartmentalized. And then in the last 50 to 100 years, it's been more familial. Families grew empires, and they grew in terms of their understanding of the world and their empowerment and so on. And it's now the focus has shifted to individual. So each person has, more responsibility in terms of their own empowerment and development than ever before. And I think one of the biggest scary things for people is responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why there's so much stress involved. People subconsciously are recognizing, hang on, this is up to me, and there's a lot of stress involved.
One of the things that for people to be able to move on with their lives is that to take that 100% responsibility for what they are creating, because after all, we are, like we heard it probably a million of times, but we are creators of our reality and our lives. The moment we take 100% of responsibility, we have the power to create it in some other way. If we are giving that power on the outside, or we are blaming the circumstances, the government, the spouses,
So we're a victim.
And stay in that victim mentality, we give our power away, and therefore we cannot move anywhere. We think that when the outside circumstances are going to change, then I'm going to feel better or more empowered, and it doesn't work that way. And as Graham was talking about coming to the individual journey, the same with the feminine energies that are shifting right now. It was first dealt with on a global level, societal, cultural, religious, and now that feminine energy, what it is about is to balance it within oneself, the masculine and feminine energy. It's not about women and men. It's on the individual level within every single person to balance those energies, and that's where we kind of become whole again.
Mm-hmm.
And the difficulties that we are experiencing right now is because we are bridging a lot of things that were kind of scattered, and we are living in an era of the modern mystic. We are living in this world, yet also in a mystical world. And before those mystics, they were sitting on a top mountain top and under the tree, and they were provided for. And now we have to live the life, pay the bills, do the jobs, and yet go through the journey of the mystic and that heart opening and that very individual kind of transformation. And very important thing is also that before changes happened over time, it was like change. We had 10 years, let's say, to adjust to it, to process it, and then change again. Now the change happens constantly and instantly. It's change after change, and we don't have the time to process that, and that's why people are just going a little bit crazy.
So when is it going to get better? Because, I mean, they talk about it seems the pace of change is accelerating, right? And people talk about, even in the context of 2012, whether you believe in that or not. But when you look at graphs of things like complexity or scientific innovation, all these, if you put these things on a graph, all the graphs are about to go vertical.
Yeah.
And, you know, are we going to come down from that at some point, or what does that all mean?
Well, you know, those things, to properly understand the whole picture, we need to keep it all in perspective and keep it related. What's going on outside is not an independent thing. It's a representation of what's going on in human consciousness. We're reaching a place now where, you know, just to kind of recap and get it in a bit more perspective, there's a thing called generation gap, right? So 100 years ago, the generation gap was 20 to 25 years. Every 25 years, every new generation had different information already keyed or programmed into them at birth. That generation gap's been steadily reducing as we progress. So each new generation has new information at 10 years, 5 years. Now it's at about 3 to 4 years. That's why any 5-year-old can pretty much learn to program and work your cell phone in an hour. Whereas it takes an 80-year-old weeks, and they still don't know how to do the email part.
Does that mean we're aging faster?
Aging is kind of that it's become much more personal. You know, aging is related to the amount of emotional stress that you allow yourself to be to experience. The more you can functionally process your experience in your mind, the less emotional charge you have and the less physical stress you have because of that. So you age differently. They've actually been doing experiments now where they're finding that, you know, people that can somehow tap into the space of being emotionally neutral, they're looking at the picture in terms of they're understanding there's both good and bad in all situations, and they're balancing it. They're not choosing to see it as good and bad and getting emotional charges. These people somehow have the aging is slower, and the effect of gravity is actually less on them.
So, but they're able to process more. Then it's
a learned thing. It's not a natural inborn.
Okay,
thing.
so it's not like they're coming in with this kind of.
But it's like stress. It's almost like it reminds me. You know, people. I mean, life is about stress, right? You know, you encounter a situation and you fight it. If you fight it and you can't, then you're creating stress in yourself, right? If you kind of roll with it, then you're not being stressed
Hence
by
the
it.
age-old
So
saying.
that I wouldn't say life is about stress. Then to Hugh's point, wouldn't life be about perspective? Then it's how you look at that stress,
That's what I
right?
wanted to tell
Life
to
is about
Hugh.
expansion, really. If
Okay.
you really look at it, it's about growing in our wisdom regarding ourselves and our relationship with the outside world. And as that develops, and you start off, when you're young, and you have all sorts of misconceptions about how the world works and how things should be. And the more you grow and learn about how the world works and how you relate to it, the more you see that there's both good and bad in all things, the more you expand your wisdom, and the more you empower yourself in life.
And to answer your question, because you said, when is it going to get better? And it's very simple.
Next generation.
It's only 3 years.
It's much more simpler, although I don't know if it's any easier. It's the moment we let go of the struggle, the moment we let go of stress, the moment we let go of knowing. So
that can only be done on an individual basis.
Yeah.
Right?
But there's something very interesting with that too, is there's different aspects to this personal evolution process. The one is your empowerment in terms of relating to the outside world. How physically healthy are you, how much wealth have you accumulated, your social influence and status, and your relationships, that kind of external stuff. And then there's the internal thing, and that's the stages of growing through developing your ego and kind of getting your ego in perspective at some point, putting it in its place and letting it do its proper function, and not investing your identity too much into the egoic part. And that's where the part of the transpersonal psychology developed, where they started recognizing, hey, there was this phase and a whole section of the population that was transcending the ego in terms of how they relate to the world. And the more you distance yourself from that, you step back and you observe it, and you realize, oh wow, it's doing that, and it's not me. I'm observing that. Then you realize you're not in the ego. The ego is just a function of you. So you're less invested in the whole emotional turmoil and the stress and the stuff.
Right.
You can step back and you can be in a peaceful place, and all this stuff can still be going on.
Yeah.
And that's really...
So the moment we detach, again, it's about detachment and getting that bigger picture. And I give that example, which really represents that what we are talking about is like if we take the notes from a Beethoven symphony, the most amazing music created, and we just take the note, it doesn't have any meaning, it doesn't make sense at all.
Right.
If we put this in a bigger context, it creates the music. And the same with particular circumstances in our life. If we take whatever is happening, whatever we are dealing with, just that, and then look at that, we get involved, and we really don't see why is that happening, and we become it. But the moment if we really look at our life from a bigger perspective, most of the time, didn't you have an experience that you look back in your life through the most challenging aspects of it, and you realize how great of the gift that was for you, how many talents you developed because of that, how many doors.
That's actually a really good point, Monika, because you do notice that. You are grateful for it, but only way after, when you're not caught up in it anymore. Then you see it. So there's no emotional attachment. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's a very, very good
That's
point.
very important to keep in mind, that whatever is happening, it's not us. It doesn't define us. We are not our mind. We are not our thinking. We are not our circumstances. We are not our boss. We are not our money. We are none of it. And unfortunately, going through that transitional period, we got to remind ourselves that over and over and over again all the time. It's like, I'm none of those things. Those things are not my supply. It doesn't define me. There is something bigger within that is responsible for moving forward. And if we stay with it and breathe, really, it's all about really being present in a moment, and breathe and realize that it all works out at the end. That's when kind of the peace and helps us go through whatever we are going through.
So back to the beginning of the discussion when we talked about money, to Hugh's point, how do you not have that attachment when you have to pay the rent? How do you do
That's a good
that?
question. Yeah.
So I tell you this way. I'm sure you went through circumstances when you were stressful and you were worrying about this all the time.
Of course.
Did that worry help you with any of those circumstances? Did you get any solutions, any answers, any...
No, if anything, it probably made it worse.
nothing.
Yeah.
The only thing, you worked yourself out up to that point that nothing worked. At
Probably
the
end up in
moment.
the hospital too, even, or taking more pills. You know.
Well, there's a
So-
ground level approach to that as well, where if you're being challenged in life in any particular area, there's a certain level of disempowerment present. You know, so if you're disempowered financially and you're making decisions without accounting for the financial side of it, you're going to be challenged financially. And then the more the more disempowered you are, the more severe that challenge is going to be, and the more likely it is to overflow into other areas and affect your relationships, your social status, your leisure time, you know, your ability to just be authentic and be yourself.
So where does trust come in, or faith, or you know?
Well, I think, you know, these words have been thrown
does it?
around
Maybe
for
it doesn't
so
come
long.
in. I don't know.
They kind of, you know, they have kind of a different meaning for each person. Trust, most of us can't even trust ourselves. So how do we trust another human being or the system that we're living inside? We need to learn who we are. We need to learn how to empower ourselves effectively. You know, what's governing our thinking? What are our underlying drives and motivations? And when we get a handle on that, we start trusting ourselves and being authentic. And then we can start to see other people for who they are, and recognizing that they're also driven by similar underlying drives. And, you know, essentially, all human beings are self-serving. Now, to say that, people get like, whoa. But, you know, there's a payoff. All human motivation is measurable somehow. Even people that appear to be altruistic are doing it for some kind of return. So even if it's just done to make you feel better, it's your payoff. That's your value perspective in the whole thing. So you can trust people to be self-serving. And in doing that, you can never expect someone to sacrifice themselves in any way for you. So you have to arrange the situation so that there's a win-win situation, so that there's a payoff for each of you. And that you can trust.
And just to add to the point, which was very good, something that you touched upon, is that, and in going back to your question, what is trust and what is faith? So far as we know, we were trained and conditioned to believe that trust and faith is in something on the outside. And that's why it was so elusive. What do you trust? What do you have faith in? Until we realize that we need to start trusting ourselves and have faith in ourselves, because we are a part of that organizing power that is the universe, that is God, that there is not God out there, it's in here that we are going to finally start kind of moving forward. So the trust and faith kind of eluded people for so long. And
so if somebody is worried about paying the rent, okay, because of belief systems or their their value, and let's say they just lost their job and they're worried about paying the rent, what do they trust that? What do they do?
Well, again, you know, it's.
I guess there's no real easy answer. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
The supply is out there. The abundance is all around us. Everywhere we look, if you really know how to look, that's what's appearing. It's abundance. We're just not wise enough, or we don't have the wisdom to tap into that.
Okay, we can't see it.
It's like I said to Joe on the show the other day. He said, you know, we need to learn to tap into this intuitive internal voice and follow that.
Okay.
So
that's a good
what
point.
I said to him is, sure, but when the voice is positive. So when the voice is telling you, if you've got a job and the voice is telling you should be doing something else, you should start setting up something else. You should start looking at what else can I do. It's not about quit your job today, because then you're putting yourself out to dry. You're putting yourself at a risk.
So there's a common sense element here too.
Yes, it's about wisdom. It's about staying in balance.
Okay.
So yeah, you know, if you're being challenged financially, there's some aspect of your understanding of finances and wealth and stuff that is off somewhere.
Okay.
And we need to look at the ability to make money, to manage money, and to understand money, and see what we can do about educating ourselves.
And also, it's all about having a perspective. Money is energy. Energy is everywhere, and energy is infinite. So there's billions and billions of dollars going through ethers, because now everything is done electronically. So there's no.
We don't even see the money.
No,
it's
goes
not even
through waves.
Yeah.
And where do those waves go? Right around us. It's billions of dollars going right here. And now, how do we tap into it? It's right here. Like,
Just
stop,
grab it. Just
How?
grab it.
Yes, how? That's a good
Hold on,
question.
hold on. I am working on it, and I will.
It's
I might
passing.
get
We're
So
definitely
wait a
not
second. It's
promoting
passing me
hacking.
right here. Hugh, it's passing you. Just grab it. You can just grab it. It's passing you. It's
Well,
in the
you know,
ethers.
I tell
let's
you
look at it. Let's look at it at a little bit deeper level. Everything in the universe is constructed of two things. It's two fields that are interacting, and one of those fields is energy. The other field is information.
Okay, energy
if-
and information.
yeah,
Okay.
So if you think about information, break the word up. Information. Information is what defines the energy, clarifies it, and locks it into some physical form. So
Okay.
if we're privy to the information, the wisdom on how to manage, how to interact with that specific thing, we can manifest unlimited supply. It's about gaining that wisdom.
And also another thing to add to it is, like, I asked that very question of Don Miguel Ruiz. I'm his apprentice, so why not just go to the source and
straight.
see,
Yeah,
how does
absolutely.
it work? Like, why am I here? Why am I not somewhere else? And he explains that is that we are so attached to knowing. We need to know, and knowing with our limited mind is so limited. He goes, practice not knowing. I go, what do you mean? how do you exactly do it? He goes,
How do you practice not knowing? Yes.
And he goes, practice makes a master. So just practice not knowing. I'm like, oh my God, can you give me a different answer, please? Another thing to that was that he said that we have to forget about the past. Nothing from the past got us here, but right here, we have the ability to create a new moment. We gotta let go of the past and completely. That journey is not an easy journey. I am actually going through that journey personally, and I'm having all sorts of experiences. What happens is that this is so challenging sometimes because we gotta let go of our ego, our identity, what we knew about ourselves, what we knew about our role in the world. I always believe that education is the key. I spent 20 years educating myself just to realize that it's just
It's not about
completely-
education.
It's not about education.
Took you 20
So
years to
Can I
understand
get
it.
my life back? My
And your
20
refund.
years? No,
Yeah.
and the refund
There's
on
your
top of it.
financial
I'm
abundance.
still paying the debt for that. Unbelievable.
So okay, so can I just ask, Hugh, do you have a question? Because I'm cutting in here
No,
a
go-
lot.
go ahead.
Okay, so let me just ask you a question.
He's
Um,
overwhelmed, that's all.
Passive observer.
Passive observer.
Yes.
There you go. He's
Perfect
doing the
role.
work.
Practicing the
He's
observing today.
yes, he's doing. So Monika, so you said you're going through some personal struggles right now, right?
We all
But
do.
right, but you are a student of or an apprentice of Miguel, Don Miguel, who is so well known. So does it ever get any easier? If you are still, struggling, does it ever get any easier?
Yeah, the moment we let go.
It depends.
Right? No.
Again,
So-
this depends. This is a very important question. This depends on the angle you're looking at it from. If it's like a car, if you're under the car and it's parked on you, it's not pleasant. But if you're driving the car and you're in control, it can be fun. It's the same with, again, back to the wisdom. If life is driving you, it's not fun. The minute
Okay.
you empower yourself, you start enjoying it. You're having fun with it. And, the more wisdom you acquire, the more empowerment you have, the more life will test you, the more, the more kind of processing capacity you have in terms of the universe's information, and the more it will throw at you. But you'll be having fun with that because you're looking at it from a perspective of power rather than disempowerment.
And also, it's good to remember that if the question is it going to stop that we get to the point of the comfort zone that we are actually breathing? No. Life is about constant growth and expansion. So we are not going to get to that place. But if we dance with life, or like Graham gave an example of driving a car, then it can become very fun journey.
That's nice, dancing with life.
That's a good.
Dancing
You
with
know,
life.
I think we could keep talking all day,
Absolutely.
but
I
we
could
don't
go on.
have. I know.
Let's just go.
And I don't even think we got to. What do you really want to talk about today?
I'm sorry, we didn't even start.
But you know what? It was perfect.
We didn't have an
Yeah.
agenda, so
I
We
know.
didn't have an agenda.
So there you go. But anyway, but before we do go, like, do you have any? And I think if anybody who's watching this, or anybody who is watching this, is going to go, boy, these guys have some great insights.
Yes,
about
absolutely.
this stuff.
Absolutely.
And I know you give workshops because I've gone to one or two,
Yeah.
maybe just one, but
That's why
it was
so
an
smart
amazing.
and wise. And
I
poised.
got it all from you
That's
guys.
why he asks the great questions.
And but I mean, are you giving any workshops in the near future or anything you want to let people know about?
yeah, we have a very powerful workshop coming up in May. It's the Access Your Power workshop, which is a little bit more advanced stuff.
We are
That's
going all the way.
that's some
Access your
serious stuff.
power. So, okay, is there any prerequisite for anybody who wants to go see that? Is there any certain, like, do they have to have read Don
Sign your
Miguel?
life to us. Yes.
Okay, okay.
We structure the workshops so that pretty much anybody can take valuable stuff away from it.
Oh, good. Okay.
So, you know, if you're just a beginner, it's going to put you really solidly on the path, and it's going to give you some good structure. If you've been doing it for 20 years and you're just dealing with some stuff, it's going to help you break through that stuff. So
Wow.
this one is a little bit more geared towards the internal part of the personal growth,
Yeah.
whereas the Living Inside Out one is more about dealing with the interaction with the world stuff.
Okay.
So this is about your personal relationship with power, with love, with meaning, with purpose. And it's about getting that all in perspective and empowering yourself to enjoy your life.
And we designed actually a few master programs, coaching programs for 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months that are actually helping people get to all those insights one-on-one, and then keep them on track all
Nice,
the way
nice.
until they kind of reprogram their beliefs. So those are the new master programs. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest problems people have is with accountability. You know, they do stuff and they don't know where they are, and they don't hold themselves accountable enough. So that kind of coaching thing puts them in the right place where they can have a feedback constantly.
Nice. With, I guess, in a safe, sacred space where there's no judgment
Absolutely.
or anything like
And
that.
we have a lot of information on our website at www.globalawakeninginstitute.com.
That's what was my next question.
You
Global.
that, I read mine also.
Global.
New step in our evolution, isn't it?
And you know what I think is really cool? Because we were talking a little bit about,
Are you
like,
sure we need to finish the show?
No, we'll just let everybody read our minds.
yeah,
for the
there you
rest of the
go.
show.
That's the whole thing about Thriving Alive. We've taken it to a whole nother level now. It's like, you know, it's like we're kind of the Intunet, not the internet. It's the Intunet. But you know what's really cool? We were talking a little bit about twin flames and that kind of thing, and you guys really do feel like you're really in sync and almost
Yeah.
like you complete each other's thoughts. But what's
know.
really cool, Hugh, did you notice?
Yeah.
He's like a rocker Mick Jagger. He's wearing the jeans, and she's the corporate queen. So it's so interesting.
I'm very
that
much in pain because of that.
Because of his jeans or
Yeah.
because of your
Oh,
corporate outfit?
Not because of his genes.
I understand.
Well,
Oh,
if you
really?
look,
I get that a
if
lot
you look
too.
at the image over there, nobody can see my jeans. So you just
Exactly.
gave away the
It's-
whole...
Oh, you see,
No.
you just had to detach from that.
yes,
Monica?
because we're showing
from the
from the waist up.
professional
No,
thing.
we're giving an exact live example of how to do this work.
Yeah, but
There you go.
Let's tap to it very quickly. There is all those challenges are now expanding into personal lives of people, and a lot of relationships are suffering. People don't understand how to handle themselves in the relationships, and there's a lot of divorces and breakups.
A lot,
and
yeah.
A lot of challenges in the relationships, and people are single, and they have a hard time finding their spouse, and it's just because of that new understanding that is coming and that individual journey that we have to live right now. And there's no kind of like a
Manual.
the manual. Thank
Yeah.
you.
No
you
man-
read my mind?
So of course,
Oh, you're
yeah.
good.
we go.
So there is no manual yet for that. People just don't understand how to approach that. And we kind of experimented with that with our relationship, and my God, it's difficult. And going back to the twin flames or the soulmates, again, there is this understanding that this is the most amazing thing that can happen to you, and that is so all fluffy and so loving, and life is going to be forever and ever. And actually, those are the relationships that are the most challenging.
Yes.
Because they propel you forward. They push your buttons for you to grow. And you do it for each other. The moment you stay in awareness and you are aware of that, then you can sustain that relationship and just grow together.
Okay, so then I have a suggestion for you guys to go together. Next time you do an interview on this show, you wear jeans, you wear the corporate.
Oh, I did last time.
Oh, see, I
This
wasn't
is
here
my
for
day
that.
off.
Oh, okay, I wasn't here
Yeah.
for that.
I had a chance yesterday.
Yeah.
No, we,
I chose these because it's very comfortable,
Okay.
Yeah,
and
comfort is king.
I wasn't sure how long we'd be waiting around and so on. So
Okay,
how,
it was purely a
practical.
yeah, it was
Spontaneous.
practical.
did
Okay.
you want to say something about our love?
Absolutely.
Blog?
What do you want to say about love?
Oh, just in terms of the relationship thing,
Uh-huh.
you know, we kind of established earlier that life, the process of life is all about growing. It's all about expanding and empowering ourselves and you know, getting to a place where we can live from a place of power and enjoy ourselves. And relationships are just as much about that as any other aspect of life. People treat relationships as a safe haven. They want to go there to be babied and to be protected, and that's not what they're about. If you're disempowered and you're, put it this way, if you're anybody who's been in a relationship for more than 10 years, in a stable relationship, will identify with this. If you are emotionally up and you're getting out of balance, your partner will be the first one to remind you where you screwed up last time, to get you back in balance. And the same with the other side of it. You know, if you're in fear or you're doubting yourself, they will remind you of where you've succeeded, and they'll build you up and they'll try and get you. It's about balance. It's not about being up or down. You know, we've got the wrong perspective on emotion and what it actually is. It's purely an indicator of whether you're lying to yourself about the reality you're experiencing.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, we're going to have to end
Nice.
it there. I know we could keep going, and we look forward to having you back on the
There's
show
always
sometime
next
soon.
time, yeah?
Yeah. So again,
you, guys.
globalawakeninginstitute.com is the website if people want to get and stay in
Yeah.
touch and find out what seminars or events that you're putting on, and
Absolutely.
people can do it that way.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you.
guys.
Oh, amazing
Great,
stuff.
Monika.
Thank you,
Thanks for coming on.
guys.
Good to see you guys, and great to be here.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so we're going to take a little break, come back with author Karen Escobedo as we hit the home stretch. Sandra,
Rhymes with
here
libido.
we go. Yeah, libido. Okay, that's a whole show. Yeah, we'll be right back.
Scratch. It's Frenchie. Tiki Town Records. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm on the grind. I'm on the grind. I'm on the grind. I'm on the grind. I'm on the grind, but it's on my mind. I'm on the grind.
Check it out. Hey young girl, it's your boy Frenchie, remember. You know the one that's born in December, but his flow is hot like Mayweather. Temperature, I persevere to the struggle, I don't stop. My heartbeat is my time clock, I'm focused, I won't stop. Hoping I won't flop whenever my things drop. Patience I got.
I never had a chance to really make it right, but since I did it, I would never dance precise. The point I'm trying to make, so let me be precise. Striving for the top, that's a missionary life.
As the journey continues, the hard work continues. All I want is rest, so there's no need for menu. And I got next, my mind's all set, so don't get vexed. You gotta play chess. Haters and poses won't get that far. Wishing and hoping you'll be that star. My man, that's on a mission, my plan is ammunition. I'm handsome in addition, look man, this to the dishes. In my early 20, living life like it's a frenzy. Drink hard, lick, twist, block, centuries. We twisting and party hardy like it's New Year's Eve. Get, c'est la vie.
Steady on the grind, man, what else am I supposed to do?
I'm gonna till the day I get a peace of mind. I hold on to my dream and I'll be alright.
Heartbeat is my time clock, got no time to waste.
Yeah, I chill for a little, so I party shit a little. When I kick it with the man, I'm smoking for a little.
Steady on the grind, man, what else am I supposed to do?
I'm gonna till the day I get a peace of mind. I hold on to my dream and I'll be alright.
Heartbeat is my time clock, got no time to waste.
Yeah, chill for a little, when I party just a little, when I kick it with the minutes, I'm struggling for a little.
And welcome back to Liquid Lunch, hitting the home stretch here. And
Wow, it's been a busy, great, amazing day.
yes,
We've had an amazing.
and we're almost finished.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
going to be nice. You know, where it's all laughs on the air, but off camera we're all stressed. At least I am.
I know you are. I know you are.
Okay. But anyway, we've got Carla Escobedo here. And Carla, great to have you on the show.
Hi, Carla.
And now we're talking about, so you're a founder of a Montessori school
That's correct.
called Caban.
Caban Montessori, yes.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Blanca, and I had a vision and a dream almost 10 years ago to start something that it was true. It was real for the young children, and both of us are teachers, are trained, and we just started it 10 years ago.
Nice. So you're teachers trained in ECE or?
No, well, both of us are Montessori trained.
Oh, I
am
see.
I
There's.
trained,
I didn't
yes.
know there was a difference.
It is a difference.
Okay,
It is a difference.
okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Wow.
So, first of all, what was the vision?
Yeah.
Well, we love children,
Yeah.
both of us, and both of us were teachers before and in different environments, and we want we, especially both of us, who have very strong hopes for the children to have a better world, a better planet, and we want to work with them. And the younger you start with them, the better, the healthier habits they start building. So we wanted it to do ourselves, you know,
Nice.
and that's why we came together, and that was the one of the reasons why we even called our school Caban. Caban is it's from the Mayan calendar, and it means soil. So we thought, well, the children could be like little seeds where they're going to come and they grow and get nurtured into a
Beautiful.
good soil.
See, I thought it was
Beautiful.
Cabana Souk.
No, it's Caban. the
What's
Mayan.
what's that? I don't even know what that is.
You don't know what that is?
No.
The Sugar Shack.
Ah.
In the spring, you go and you get the maple syrup.
Oh,
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
No,
What
not that
language
one.
is that?
French.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Sorry, Mom and Dad.
So, so that's interesting. So, are you Mayan by any chance?
No, well, our background is from Mexico. Both of us are from Mexico. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So, are
a
they
little
big
bit of Mayan.
influence?
A little
Right?
bit there. I don't know how
Okay,
much of
Hugh,
that. but-
ask the question. Go ahead, Hugh. You've
What?
got to
I
ask.
already- No, I'm not going to ask.
Yeah,
Well, okay. It's interesting that you, your vision to create, to try to create a better world by creating a better educational environment for kids, right?
Yes.
And how's that going? Because we always hear about how things, the kids today, they're so much worse than the kids yesterday were.
Well, it's going very well. You know, very challenging, and again, we can see how the traditional, how the children are doing nowadays, and you
Yes.
can see more and more research comes out saying, you know, children need to get back to nature.
Yes.
More contact to nature is very important because the children learn better and
Yes.
they become better attached human beings.
So is that what differentiates? Because I have a nephew who he's in high school now, but he was in Montessori school, and I know that the education system is better there. When you go into public school,
Yeah.
and apparently this is standard,
Yeah.
you are 3-4 years ahead. When you go into a grade 4, say, you know more than the person going into the grade 4 year. So it can be boring because you've already learned a lot of that stuff. But I don't know how much nature type things they did.
Yes.
So is that what
Yes.
separates, differentiates
Well,
you?
it may be one of the things, of
Okay.
course, but one thing that definitely makes a difference and helps is that children here they learn through their own interest.
Oh my God.
So and research says that whatever you would learn through your own interest is gonna last for your life.
So how does that work when you say they learn from their own interest?
Children, they just go, they choose the materials they want to do.
So you allow them to make the choice.
That's correct. That's correct, and that's one of the main principles.
That's
Children learn how to make decisions
amazing.
and have that freedom to make those decisions in very early
So
stages.
that's one of the defining characteristics of Montessori versus other education.
That's correct. That's
Okay.
correct.
You know what? This actually harkens back to our last guest when they were talking
Yeah.
about taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Right? They were saying that it was a really hard thing for people to take accountability and take responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we're taught maybe at a younger age to do that, it would be easier, you know, throughout our life. So it actually, there's a relationship there. That's very interesting.
And makes sense, right? We ask nowadays. We ask, for example, our teens to start making decisions. Okay, now you have to decide what you're going to do with the rest of your life.
Yes.
But they don't know. They
That's a
don't
very
know,
good
right?
point.
But if you start since a very young age, teaching them and allowing them to be able to make decisions by their own and problem solve and be
And
able
then
to
they
talk.
have to suffer the consequences as a result of
That's
making
correct.
those decisions.
That's correct, and that's the main.
And that's where we learn more, right, from the actual consequences than the actual decision we made, right?
That's correct.
So how come all schools aren't Montessori schools?
Yeah. Great question.
That's
Great
my question. That's my question too. That's my question.
Are
and
they
we're-
trying to de-educate people in the public schools?
You know what? It's very challenging. You know, the traditional education, how is it right now?
Yeah.
Is the way it started a long time ago. So it's more like a industrial.
Like just inertia or...
So are we going backwards, you think? Is that what
I
you're saying,
think we
Carol?
haven't got the step.
So we're not growing.
That's it, I think.
Although the Montessori movement is
100
increasing.
years old. Well, and again,
Right?
Montessori is 100 years old. So
Yeah.
it's nothing new. But nowadays, more and more research are saying, oh, guess what? The way to help children
Yeah.
is helping them to become independent.
Right.
Guess what? We have to teach children to be responsible for
Yes,
their own
absolutely.
actions and be tolerant with other people and learn how to live in a community. Well, guess what? Montessori has been doing this for 100 years already.
Are you guys getting public funding yet?
No, we're not. No, we're a private school.
So how about any of the Montessoris? Are they all private?
They are private. Some of them are non-profit. They're different. They're different.
But they're not getting
models.
public.
That's
funding,
we
right?
don't have a public.
See,
So
that's
there's
an
no tax
amazing
dollars
question.
going to
No.
it
That's
because
because
you
then-
think, yeah, why not?
Well, because unfortunately this form of learning is for only those who can afford it,
That's
Yeah.
correct.
which is not.
It's not right.
No. So what we need to do is get this form of education, Montessori's, into the public stream, right?
That's correct.
So are you guys forming, like, you know, if I were a Montessori school owner, I would be trying to form a union or a collective and you know, not bully, that's not the right word to use. You know, maybe kind of, you know, what's the word? Gently persuade.
Well, we have an association that was formed 30 years ago, and that helps the true Montessori schools to get together and to get accredited. Because unfortunately, when she was alive, she never registered her name. So that means that, for example, you want to open a daycare tomorrow, you can use the Montessori name and it won't have a problem. So that's very challenging for the parents because they don't know.
Because
They don't
anybody
know the
could be a
difference.
Montessori.
That's
There's no
correct.
marker, right?
So what
That's
are you
correct.
so you're going to put an accreditation together?
Well, there is this association. It's called CCMA. And what they do is they go to a school and they accredit the school. They make sure that whatever you're saying that you're doing, you're really doing it.
Right.
And you have that their stamp and their accreditation. So so that gives parents obviously a peace of mind saying, okay, well, at least they are doing what they should be doing.
So then the next step is to get that into the public.
That's
the
correct. So
mainstream.
CCMA has been trying to work together, you know, as an association, as a group, working with the government, working with the ministry, and different. But it's hard. It takes time.
Yeah, it takes
Yes,
time. It
yes.
takes time.
Okay, so now it's Earth Day is coming up, right? And you guys have a special. What are you doing? You're doing something special for Earth Day, right?
We do. Every year, and again, the environmental aspect is very strong in our school. So we do activities throughout the year to take care of the environment. But April, it's a big one because Earth Day is April 20th, and we celebrate. We always participate in a program organized by the city of Mississauga, which is called 20-minute makeover. And basically what you do is you go out to a park or to your neighborhood and you clean it.
We used to do that when we were in school too.
That's it. Well,
Yeah.
it's still there, it's still around, and we always participate. Every year we go, the children love it. And we have a
Wow.
park that is just 5 minutes away from
Away.
our school, so we just walk there and clean it, and then we play a little bit. Obviously, the children feel very proud of what they did, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And how old are the kids in the Montessori school?
Well, in our school, we have them. They start from 9 months, very tiny
Oh my
babies,
God.
all the way to 12 years.
That's better than daycare.
Yeah,
9 months.
9 months, tiny.
How long is their day? Obviously, they're not there a full day.
Well, they are. You know,
What?
unfortunately, parents, that's life, and parents have to
Wow.
work, so
Okay,
they have
They're
long
there, okay,
days.
okay.
They have long days,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Wow.
So the children that go to the park are the preschool, so with the 2.5-year-olds all the way to the 12-year-olds. So we go in a big group, and we all take our gloves and our plastic bags and go and clean the park.
And where are you located? Where's the school located?
We are in the Mississauga, in the border of Oakville,
Okay.
and
What's the main intersection?
it's
Just-
yes, it's Winston Churchill and Dundas.
Okay.
area.
Okay.
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 Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so cool that you connect so much with the earth. That is so not enough done.
Sometimes I think it's not just the kids that need to be connected to the
Oh,
earth,
no
but
kidding.
I mean, I think if you took the people that are suffering from any kind of mental illness or people that are homeless, we're in the city. We're so disconnected from nature.
I hug
Right.
trees all the time.
That's true.
Well, that's you.
It's better than taking an Advil.
Well,
That's
go and hug a tree. And
That's you know what? That's the thing. I mean, why take a pill if you can go hug a tree? That's going to have the same effect.
Or take a pill and hug a tree.
well, that would be even better.
But then if you take too many pills, you'll miss the tree and you'll fall over, right?
Depends what the pill is.
Okay. I think we're talking about Montessori schools
Yes,
here.
of course. And something very interesting. You were saying you were in the middle of the city. Our school is in an industrial area. We have some trees there, but the beautiful thing is that, for example, in our playground area, we have big gardening beds.
Wow.
And we have our
nice.
vegetable. We do have a vegetable garden there.
And the
Nice.
kids
In
are out there
Mississauga.
working in that?
Beautiful.
That's
yes,
great.
Yes, and they already started planting the seeds end of February, so we have them indoors.
Yeah.
And then
Nice.
That
we're
is
going to plant them.
fantastic.
You
plant
guys
them
do that as
outside.
part of your Montessori thing too?
We do it a part of our school.
All the
yes.
schools should be doing that.
Oh my
They
god.
should.
Every school should be doing that
Yes.
because they've got the
Wow.
grounds, right?
You don't take it doesn't need a big space, you just need
No.
a little corner. The children love it. They just have the
kidding.
little plants. They see them grow. Last year, for example, we had eggplants and cucumbers and peppers and tomatoes, and they love it. And it's not
Wow.
only the vegetables, but the beautiful bugs and insects that come with it, right?
And all color. The
It's-
colors
it's- it is
stunning.
It
So
is.
this is in this park? you're talking
No,
about?
this is in our school.
Yeah.
Wow.
This
Oh
is
my
in our
God.
school.
That's
Yes,
amazing,
yes,
Carla. That's
yes.
amazing. That alone is worth, what differentiates you, because I don't know of any Montessori school that does that. Really.
No.
So, is there anything else we need to let people know about?
That if they can go to any community center and pick up a garbage bag and go and clean, because it's
On Earth Day.
important. On
And
Earth
it's
Day
spring
tomorrow.
cleaning,
So
right?
That is. It is.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
And do you have a website?
Yes, we do. It's cabanmontessori.ca.
And Cabana C.
It's a Kaban.
Kaban.
Cabanmontessori.ca.
Wow.
.ca. Okay, and I guess
Nice.
if there's parents out in that area, Dundas and Winston Churchill, that want to get their kids off to the proper start, they should look up the website
course,
and
of
maybe
course.
check out the school.
Of course, they should. They should.
Well, thank you for doing
Okay.
that. Thank you for connecting kids back
Yeah.
to nature. That's so important.
It
Carla,
is.
great to meet you. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
in today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank
I had a
you.
good time.
Not so bad, eh?
So I guess that's it for the show.
My God.
Oh, Mary
Amazing.
Ellen's giving me a funny look. Is there anything we're missing here, Mary Ellen? Do we have to say something?
Hello to Will.
Okay.
Welland?
I was in Welland yesterday. I said hello yesterday, but I'll say hello again today. Hello, Welland, my hometown. So that's the show, Sandra. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you
Historic
so much.
show today
Wow. This is
with
amazing.
5 fabulous guests. So
As usual, here the time goes by amazingly quick.
yeah. So
Amazingly quick.
thanks for doing this, and
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thriving Live. I missed you.
Okay. So that's it. We'll see y'all tomorrow for more Liquid Lunch right here on that on thrivinglive.com.
Yay.
See you then.
It's your boy French Dash Double E. Shout outs to Hugh Riley, Ticket Town Records, and Sandra. Check it out. Started off young and reckless, I wasn't proud of it. The young and the restless, there ain't no doubt in it. Little Congo kid, reminisce of I did. Francophone on English to the day I touched the microphone. Lots of changes happen when I landed in this nation. This is not tourism, this is immigration. You can't compare the two, man, it's different now. If you don't get it, let me break it down. Had to learn to be adaptive, the culture was hard to captive. Haters make fun of my accent, but the girls that kept me active, so it turned into a profession. Felt like I was progressing, plus I did love the attention of the and romancing. Caucasian introduced me to blazing. Put my mind on vacation on several occasions from different locations. Started running with killer bees, with felonies. Mama witnessed a different me that wasn't meant to be. Stop. Shocked by the fact that baby girl's born 17 at early age, man, it got me all torn. Get better, it's just my ways, now they long gone. Yeah, it may be funny to you, cause you couldn't work on my shit, what can I do? So I had to finish high school, college still in progress, cause it's me that she look up to.
Lot of judgment and it irritates, but I won't let it penetrate, cause music is my getaway. I'm trying to be what I'm meant to be, but got nomadic tendency. Makes me wanna flee, cause it's hard to achieve with my nomadic tendency. Trying to take it beyond, trying to take it beyond and on, trying to take it beyond, trying to take it beyond and on.